Right, and we're live. Well, if you had any doubt how great a streaming show this was, the fact we've been on hiatus for about 6 weeks because guests kept fucking me about and me just being generally lazy or at events. I'm on the road. You think it's DreamHack who has a tour? Esports Heaven has a tour. I'm here in Valencia. I'm sat in a lovely hotel room with great acoustics, no doubt. Everything's made of Formica. I'll show you people the view so you can see that, you know, no expense spared, €19 a night. Look at this bad boy. Get a load of that, boys. You're jealous now. So, so tonight's show is going to be all about the streaming industry, and we have got a giant, a titan of the streaming business, a man who cut his teeth as a shoutcaster before progressing into the streaming business. He was with one company that it didn't go so great, but now he is with the dominant force on the internet for esports streaming, Twitch TV. It is, of course, Mr. Stuart Saw. How are you doing, Stu? You all right?
Very good, Rich. Thanks for having me on. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. And thanks for agreeing to appear, unlike certain other guests, Sundance. So we're going to stop dodging me, bro. So, right, if I just got to remember the format of the show myself. And that is that we've got a young chap called James from a company called Streamgasm who is better looking than me. And he's there to get the youth buy-in. I'm here to get the bitter old bastard esports buy-in. But what James does, it's very awesome. He basically goes through the Twitter sphere, he goes through your Reddit threads, he goes through all of that sort of shenanigans to disseminate the very best of the internet discussion about the topic at hand. And you can join in by using the hashtag that they like to call them, Esports Heaven. So if you've got any questions you'd like to ask Stu, don't make it about shoutcasting though. And don't just endlessly tweet. This is sensational. I'm sure he's as bored of it as everyone else. But, you know, if you want to keep it about streaming, this is a man who was with Own3d. He's with Twitch. He can answer any question. Unhappy with Twitch? I'm sure he'd love to answer why it hasn't been, you know, going so great lately. Love Twitch. He'd love to hear a bit of praise because he works very hard. So James will be going through all of that. But let's start at the beginning. Stu. Streaming, was it a natural progression for you to go from being a shoutcaster, somebody involved in broadcasting, and end up working in the streaming industry?
Oh, very much so. I mean, so to those of you who don't know me, my esports shoutcasting days, perhaps now behind me, we're all in games like Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Enemy Territory, Call of Duty 4, and mainly many other PC FPSs that all kind of. We did everything we could. We were back in the old days, back when I were a lad. We were streaming first via Winamp, and then via any type of kind of video technology you could imagine to try and make video work. I remember an ESWC in 2005 where we were video streaming, sponsored by NVIDIA, and they gave us their download servers. Well, the download servers are in Paris and they're in San Jose. And they had the capacity of about 1,000 users on each through Windows Media. So if you're one of the 1,000 people who happened to connect and you were in Paris or you're in San Jose, good for you. You got to watch one meg stream. If you were any of the other people that actually wanted to watch anything, you got a slideshow and so forth. So streaming, you know, the progression towards video was always there. I actually took little time out from the esports world and went to work for a London tech startup called Streamworks, who had an encoding technology. So the streaming and broadcast world was kind of always in my blood in one way, shape, or another.
Because this is the Heaven half, and what we usually do is we usually have two guests, but you're going to be talking about both the good and the bad, the Twitch and the Owned. But I mean. What were those kind of first tentative steps like? I mean, we all knew in esports that we needed to move to video. We needed to move to streaming, broadcasting. That was what was the writing was on the wall. Other industries had done it, and we were lagging very far behind. What it appeared to be like for me was people were waiting to see who was going to take that first step and effectively fuck up. And then it was all about the next people who were going to come in. So what was it like being a pioneer? I mean, were you at all worried because you'd gone from an industry that was, you know, relatively secure by comparison, certainly more so than being the first to attempt something new?
Well, if you look at the first steps into video streaming in esports, you're looking at, what we did at ITG with companies like NVIDIA and getting download servers, and then, to use Akamai at its very earliest point where it cost an absolute fortune to deliver one of the QuakeCons through Akamai. And then you're looking at companies like Octoshape, who were a peer-to-peer solution, which fit a very specific need, and they thought the gaming audience would work because it was an enthusiast audience, so they'd be okay with software being installed and so forth. And as you say, there was a need for streaming to come along. There were a number of, solutions that were out there that, we're talking the earliest part of 2005. We're talking almost 10 years ago. I probably didn't have broadband in 2005. These types of things. It's still an emerging technology today, but imagine what it was 8 years ago. So a lot of mistakes. It was a tough nut to crack, but it was needed because it brought in metrics. Who wants to, if you compare it to where we were before on Winamp, who wants to advertise to 1,000 people on radio, let alone 1,000 people on digital radio, using a program called Winamp that no advertiser's ever heard of? It just didn't work. So that was the need, and it took many years before solutions like Twitch came to the problem.
So what was the kind of biggest leap then? Let's talk about it in kind of technological terms. I mean, I remember the days of people, using Shoutcast, kind of doing it all on Winamp. So I was around for those. I remember the kind of, the next step, which was, you had the CPL kind of production values, which everyone raved about. Some people still rave about them to this day. But in kind of this modern esports era, this second golden age, if you like, that we've moved into, what was the big technological step? What was it that made all of this possible, so we can get to the state where a company like Twitch can come in and provide what seems to be a very easy and functional solution so everybody can stream?
The technological step was the ever-decreasing cost of serving on the internet. So if you compare what serving over a CDN might have cost for, it was QuakeCon 2006, I think, where GTL used Akamai Direct, and it cost them $2.50 per gigabyte. And now the price of that is, depending on your commitment, it could be, it's certainly less than $1, significantly less than $1 to do so. So you can just see that the bandwidth cost of serving online has just fallen down, completely. So that was the first part. And then the second part were the sites, like Stickam, for example, who were the first to offer live flash video streaming to anyone who just signed up. And that didn't really work. They had FPS limitations to save them on bandwidth, and then the technology didn't work. And then came along Justin TV, and gaming was the biggest vertical on Justin TV because gaming moved where the technology was best. And Justin TV then eventually spawned Twitch TV. And around that time, you've also got Own3d coming in there as well. So it was a culmination of the cost of the internet in general and networks in general coming down, and the evolution of flash video streaming.
Right. So you talked about the evolution of Twitch coming from Justin TV. Now, Justin TV wasn't gaming specific. Obviously, it was there for anything. From what I remember, people could use it to stream anything. Was the gaming element part of it, so massive, such a big part of it that it made sense for Twitch to kind of streamline and become primarily a gaming stroke esports streaming solution? How did that evolution take place?
Actually, I've got to hold my hands up and say this is, I wasn't at Twitch / Justin at that time, so don't know the full kinds of ins and outs there. It being a biggest vertical, and you can see this being a challenge for anyone who wants to get into gaming, there is a specific gaming feature set that you need because we are a hungry user base. We want content, we want things that, we want chat, we want a certain level of quality. And to do that, you've almost got to break it away from a product that may be looking to cater to a sports or music audience who, have to cater to a 5-year-old and a 50-year-old. So it was kind of a natural evolution that gaming was big enough and could sustain itself on its own. But the reasoning behind it and the decisions that the guys made at those points, I wasn't around for.
Well, let's talk about when you joined. Obviously, the second half of the show is going to be about Owned and how that kind of became a monumental clusterfuck. I think we'll touch on the Azubu situation as well, where I'll ask your opinion as a professional, obviously not anyone who had anything to do with any of that shenanigans. But let's focus on you joining Twitch. I remember meeting you when you were at Owned, and things seemed to be, going great, and then things weren't going great, and then you were at Twitch. So how did that move occur?
The move occurred in basically a case of realizing, and I know that you want to keep it segmented between heaven and hell, so I don't want to kind of like ruin the hell portion for you.
The illusion of structure is how we roll anyway. There is no structure to it. We just talk shit for like 2 hours or something, so just go nuts.
I mean, it became evident that that the Own3d ship was beginning to sink, and the move occurred, the opportunity arose simply by kind of the realization by people on the Twitch side that there were going to be a lot of streamers who could potentially be in a bad way, a lot of staff that could be in a bad way, and so kind of olive branched out to a lot of people who were in a bad way because of Own3d to try and make the best of a bad situation.
So what, like, I'm kind of curious to see what you were bringing to the table. Why would Twitch employ Stuart Saw? Over, say, I'm sure there was many other people trying to get in. I mean, indeed, if I remember when Twitch TV kind of first really started having that big push into esports, it kind of felt like they were just doing almost like what CGS were doing in signing up a who's who of credible esports characters. So I guess my question would be, why are you the one that's kind of prevailed? Why are you the one that's kind of synonymous with European Twitch TV operations?
Good question. I'd like to say it's because of my dashing good looks, but
no doubt about that.
Too good to have me beat there. But I would say that the reason was, coming from Own3d. Obviously, we both at the same time, both myself and Opie joined from Own3d. And I would say that we had the connections to the streamers, which was obviously had kind of market value, and then on a technical knowledge on Opie's side and broadcaster knowledge on Opie's side, which helps him fulfill his role, and then on the side of myself, I've got an all-round experience from a broadcaster's perspective. I've got the relationships pre-existing with the key European clients on Twitch, like an ESL or a DreamHack, and on an advertising side, because that's obviously a core function of the Twitch business model. So to successfully execute the role of Twitch in Europe, you've got to be able to wear many hats, and gaming knowledge, esports knowledge is only just one part of it. So that's what I'd like to think I bring to the table. You can ask my boss Kevin if any of that's true.
That's next week. So what about interactions with streamers then? Because I think what was interesting for me was where there was almost kind of democratization of streaming. People hoisted their flags, and some went to Own, and some went to Twitch, and some went to other smaller streamers that were trying to operate and exist in this evolving space. What do Twitch do to kind of attract, secure, and then retain the best streaming talent?
So the first thing is obviously security. We've experienced through Own3d, as we've experienced through CPL and WSVG and many other esports companies before, that this is a tough marketplace. That esports is a hard product to sell, no matter who you are or where you're based. It's a hard product to sell. But Twitch has successfully been able to crack the nut of building a secure business, and that is, particularly in the light of what's gone on in our industry, a big USP that and there was a tweet from Destiny whilst like 1 month after he joined or rejoined Twitch, saying it's really boring to get paid on time, and that's a big factor that works in Twitch's favor. And I know from the own streamers that moved over to Twitch, both myself and Opie keep in regular contact with, and they're all just like very like, wow, we really do get paid, and so that's a big deal for them. The other parts that exist in the Twitch ecosphere is that Twitch's size benefits massively. There's a lot of streamers that moved over, generated a big surge in their audience, and if you compare, probably the biggest success story of that would be some of the league streamers. Now, when I joined Own3d back in April of last year, Own3d was perhaps the destination site for League of Legends streams. But then in December, when you saw the Phantom Lords and so on move over to Twitch, and then in January, when you saw what is now the EG League of Legends stream move over to Twitch, all of those streamers jumped by about 10K on their average viewership. That was on an initial kind of like, wow, new streamers, let's go see them. And then their consistent numbers thereafter have, yes, maybe tailed off of the the initial impact, but they still remain much higher. And that's obviously a big benefit, that there's a discovery entity to Twitch that that people will search out new streamers, they will go where things are hot and so
on. So with the whole League of Legends thing as well, I mean, something that's been very much on my mind as League of Legends has kind of grown and developed, and it is kind of almost like an interchangeable term, I feel, these days. When people talk about esports, more and more that they're really talking about League of Legends. I mean, a great piece of sort of PR from the Riot machine recently was this whole thing about US recognizing League of Legends players as actual athletes, so they can get their work permits quicker, which of course applies to all cyber athletes. It applies to all games. Riot have kind of stepped up and made it look like if League of Legends wasn't so big, that wouldn't have happened, when in actual fact it probably would anyway, and there's certainly precedent in the past to suggest that it would. It's happened in 2007, it's happened in 2004. But anyway, that is a side issue. So as League of Legends has kind of become the mainstay of esports, the biggest streaming numbers and whatnot, have Twitch kind of had to almost pander to that League of Legends community to kind of give the League of Legends streamers better deals than other streamers?
In terms of deals, I mean, obviously everything is somewhat confidential, and obviously people talk within the community and so on, and so you can, there's information that you might know from the common market. But in terms of deals going forward, we offer, a very competitive partner CPM, which, if you compare it to, what you might get on other, platforms, still, stands up as a very competitive price point, better than most else you could get if you just kind of like joined up today onto like AdSense or something like that. So from that perspective, the deal that you get if you are a partner on Twitch is there to help you monetize, there to help you grow your brand. What the League people have gone and done is they've gone and, in some of the instances, like I'm a Cutie Pie from Dignitas, Phantom Lord, Rain Man, they've been the ones that have taken the initiative and said, I'm not just going to be a player, I'm going to be a persona, I'm going to be a character, I'm going to be a brand. So you've got to give a lot of credit to them that if, that it's not Twitch or anyone pandering to a certain game, it's these individuals, and I cite Phantom Lord, and I do quite regularly, as a perfect example of someone who's decided that this is a golden opportunity to do what he loves as a business, and so he is marketing himself very well. If I compare that to, of when I were a lad, to the Swedish CS pros of 2005, 6, and so on, they didn't productize themselves. Mm. They were already the Ashley Coles of the world. They had too much ego about them to be accessible to the regular guy. Whereas now these League players, they're doing. I remember EG at DreamHack this year did a 4-hour signing session. The line kept growing and growing and growing. They didn't get out of there until the event closed. They were, you would never see. And every time the DreamHack guys wanted to like kind of kill a signing session, just be like, okay, you've done this for 2 hours. You guys are free to go. They just didn't want to turn away fans. Yeah. Now there's no way that some of the top Swedish CS pros of the day would have done that.
Okay, one more question, then we're going to go over to Twitter, and I'm going to deliberately ask the question. I was going to save it for a little bit later, but given that I've had a look at the tweets and seen what the questions James is going to be asking relate to, do you ever feel uncomfortable working for a company that has a monopoly?
Oh, no, not at all. Because
I thought that was a great question, and then, nah, shut up, Rich. Yeah, okay.
Well, because I've been on the other side of it. I've been on the guy who wanted to do this full-time using Winamp, to try and do this, to guy who's now working for a company that is enabling people to make a living out of this. Because I remember the numbers we did, probably at the very end, the COD 4 video numbers that we were starting to get when we were serving off unicast streamers, servers. We were starting to break 4 figures regularly. And just imagine if Twitch had been around then in the COD 4 days. And D-Man and I could have been, and Joe could have been doing COD 4 back then and making good money from it. So this term monopoly actually is counterproductive, because actually what the growth of Twitch has enabled is enabling us to grow to a critical mass in more locations, to sell ads in more locations, which enables us to pay out partner CPMs in more locations. So no, quite the opposite. I love the fact that we can do what we do for this community, and maybe I'm in a unique position. If I didn't have the history I had, maybe my answer would be different. But that's it.
Okay, right. Well, James, this is where I'm going to tag you in with a big, sweaty high five. What's been going on in the Twitter sphere, brother?
Well, in relation to what you were just saying then about monopoly and stuff like that, someone asked, do you see a competitor for Twitch TV in the foreseeable future coming soon? That was from JJ. Can you see anyone really challenging Twitch?
Definitely. I could see other big video streaming sites, deciding they want to dedicate more resource to the gaming vertical, or I could see, the potential of, there are a lot of, wealthy individuals out there who have gone in the gaming world before and have, targeted big, companies in the gaming space and said, we're going to build our own version of X. I could see, someone deciding that they're going to invest some cash to, to put together a streaming platform, much as has recently been done. So I definitely think there will be others that come along and do so.
Yeah. And on a slightly lighter note, the first question we got in was, what was it like working with Martin Tyler?
That's an amazing story, and I'm glad Red Eye's in chat so I can tell it and he can hear it. Because I don't do shoutcasting that often this year, anymore. Like in the past 12 months, I did the Face It Quake Live Legends Cup, which was amazing fun. I did the Face It CS:GO tournament, which was okay, we had a lot of mixed teams in there, but it was good fun to do it. And then I got to do the FIFA Interactive World Cup, and I get a call on the day from the ESL guy who's running it, and he's like, do you know anyone that can cast FIFA Interactive World Cup? Red Eye's stuck in France. And I'm instantly like, Red Eye travel curse, Red Eye travel curse. I know that I've been saying this since before he had a Twitter account to spam it every week. And it was like, oh, well, I guess I could do it, because on a moment's notice, this was 2 hours before the show was supposed to go live. And he's stuck in France, having just done the Heart of the Swarm Blizzard event, this massive snowstorm. I'm sat there thinking, okay, I'll do it. What is it? To be fair, I at this point don't know a great deal about FIFA, but it's football. I can hold my own. And they're like, oh yeah, some guy from TV will join you. Okay. So I go down to White Hart Lane, where they're filming the UK stuff, and some guy from TV walks in called Martin Tyler, and I'm turning to, it's Christoph, is that the guy from TV? Is that the guy from TV? It's like, yeah, who is he? That's Martin bloody Tyler. That's the guy, the voice of Sky, the only one who didn't, get fired in the Andy Gray and Richard Keys, voice of FIFA. And he is this most amazing down-to-earth guy. He is, just like, the moment he realizes that you're working with him and that he has to work with you, he just opens up. Ego off. I'm Martin Tyler. Pleasure to be working with you today, and so forth. Like, how is it a pleasure to be working with me when you're Martin Tyler? But okay, great. And yeah, he listened to everything I had to say in terms of these are the nuances you're going to want to know about in FIFA as opposed to football. And the big thing was his preparation. So he made sure that all the players told him in advance what team they were going to play, even though they weren't going to tell anybody else. And one guy did throw in a random team. He played as Man City, which wasn't common, just because he didn't want to end up with a team that he didn't know the starting 11 and have some anecdotes to share. And he quickly picked up all the nuances. He quickly picked up everything, and the guy was just a consummate professional. So yeah, it was amazing. And as Pansy points out, now I get to go and do COD 4 this summer with her. So her compared to Martin Tyler,
Obviously, Panzer. Yeah.
Do you think Martin Tyler would have made a good shoutcaster?
The guy probably would have done. If you got him in a sphere where he knew enough, like it was obvious that he could just roll the tongue and whip something out football-wise. So if you got him in something that he knew, as opposed to doing what has been done in some kind of comical TV things before, just like, let's pair someone from television with someone from esports, and this will make attractive women want to watch our show. He would, if he trained and he learned it, he would be able to transfer his skills very easily.
That's good. Maybe that'll happen. Just to come back to the earlier point that James brought up, and it was from Red Eye actually. He's had a lot of interaction in the chat. It's good to see that you're watching, Paul. It was just a statement rather than a question, which Paul is kind of like that. He says, I love Twitch, but I think they would benefit, and the spectators, from having a serious competitor. So I guess my argument, well, how I would frame that as a question would be, why do you think Paul isn't correct?
I actually, Paul and I have had this discussion not too long ago. So you can see benefits, for example, during LCS. So LCS distributed over 3 platforms, and you can, it's undeniable. You can see benefits to the fact that if I'm a guy from Poland with a 1 meg connection, then by hook or by crook, I might connect better to YouTube Live, for example, or whatever. So you can see benefits for that. You can also see that in terms of viewing numbers, there's a preference towards Twitch, which is fantastic. We certainly enjoy that. But at the same time, you have to look at it from a business perspective. That if Twitch has the ability to throw its kind of sales weight and its just kind of general power behind an event, and really partner up and get up close and personal, then that benefits both the event and Twitch itself. So I see the point. I see Red Eye's not the first to make it, and he won't be the last. But at the same time, Twitch being in the position it's in is not doing any damage to financially to any of these companies. They're all building good metrics that they're able to sell. Twitch is working extremely closely with a number of these companies to help them on that sales process. So we're certainly not hurting any of these companies by the position we're in.
So you don't subscribe to the sort of pure capitalist ethos that having a competitor naturally causes you to raise your game and therefore everyone benefits?
Oh, I do agree that I don't dismiss that point. Let's just put it that way. Like, I'm not saying yes, Twitch tomorrow needs a competitor, but I'm not dismissing all of the points that come with the argument, because some of them are valuable or are valid. I just don't think it's doing as much damage as the statement suggests.
Okay, and I guess that there's precedent, right? I mean, who else uses any of the search engine apart from Google? That seems to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So, maybe you don't need competitors. Maybe. I don't know where I stand on the issue. I think lots of successful monopolies that do things very well, and the lack of a competitor doesn't seem to hinder them. In general, though, I guess I feel a little bit uncomfortable, because if Twitch got took over by like an evil sort of hypnotist stroke Bond villain tomorrow, where would esports be? I guess that's a question, in a way.
That's a question that I'd have to say that that I'll answer by saying that the Twitch employees, so when I first went to the Twitch office, I saw, particularly in the engineering area, they all have 2 screens. One of them's got email and whatnot open, and the other's got a Twitch stream open or Dota open. They're all fanatic gamers. They're all hurt by every Reddit comment that goes up there that's negative, and they all revel in success of delivering a great event or a great moment happening in esports. So the ethos within the company is great fun. I absolutely love going over to the office in San Francisco, because it's just kind of like hanging with the guys and watching, not football, but watching gaming and talking gaming. And so it's fantastic. And I don't think they would. First of all, it speaks to the evil monopoly question of do they take their pedal off the foot? No, not at all. Any comments of the word lag? We have people on call 24/7 who just work so hard that it becomes depressing if they can't solve an issue for a user. And then secondly, if Twitch were sold to an evil corporation, I can't see that happening, simply because I think there's too much understanding of the position Twitch has within the gaming industry that I certainly can't speak to anything of any sale or anything, but you're just asking hypothetically. But hypothetically, they would, I believe, do ample kind of due diligence on the care and attention of their customers and clients. Much like, to draw an example, random example, I don't know why this came into my head, HSBC, the world's biggest and worst bank, bought First Direct, the world's nicest and friendliest bank, and in that, First Direct had to stay as the world's friendliest bank in doing so. I would imagine that would be a similar circumstance.
Okay, right. Well, James, I kind of took over there. I do have a tendency to do that, don't I? I'm a bit of a prick. But we are gonna come back to you. So keep trawling the Twitter sphere for questions. There's some good ones coming in already. I can see we've kicked the hornet's nest. I'm gonna get into the section now where I'm gonna grill Stu a little bit about Twitch. So you kind of bring in some light-hearted questions if you can for the end section to soothe the bruising.
Send us some light-hearted questions, viewers.
Okay. Oh, and question of the day. How can I forget this? You'll see the question of the day. It's in that white box where it would join the discussion underneath. And it says, do we need more options than just Twitch TV? Red, I think so. What do you think? Let us know. If it's good, we'll read it out on air, and you can get, that 30 seconds of e-fame you clearly crave. Right, Stu. We've talked about all the good things that kind of having the monopoly can bring, and why you personally subscribe to that. We've also talked a little bit about some of the potential counter-arguments. I want to talk a little bit about Twitch's performance in the market space. I know this is perhaps particularly difficult, but hopefully we can get some candor going and see if we can, pick away at the issues without it coming across as malicious on my part. But one of the things that crops up time and time again is the actual performance of Twitch TV servers, the Twitch TV viewing experience, which seems to me, from my own personal standpoint, to perhaps not be as sharp and awesome and groovy as it was, I don't know, 12 months ago, maybe 18 months ago. People often talk about lag and that kind of thing. So why is that occurring now, and is that taking so long to fix? Is that not an example of how the monopoly can be a bad thing?
No, I think it can just be a case of, it's an example of how growth always requires, additional capacity to go with it. And that's definitely not something that's gone under the radar in any shape or form. At the back end of last year, Twitch changed the third-party CDN that we use to try and improve some of that performance. During this year, you're going to see 3 more European data centers going up on live, and an upgrade on one of our other ones in Europe. So you're seeing that. You're seeing constant tweaks in performance in the way that we handle data going on streams. We're going to be later on making other changes that I'm not 100% sure whether they're publicly aware of yet, so I'll keep that one under my hat, but there'll be other improvements to streaming coming on. There's no doubt that that the performance issues that you may have experienced are ones that are being addressed at all times. There are other kind of defenses that, streaming is not a science yet. It's still an art. It's still a question of individual people being able to squeeze the most out of things, being able to get better peering relationships, being able to do this and so on. On our end and on the viewer's end, there are various things that mix up. For example, I'm on BT ADSL because I'm in a fiber black spot, for example, and I know that come 8 o'clock at night, there's only so much this connection can handle, just because that's the legacy network that I'm on. I'm on a copper cable. So because it's still an art and it's not a direct science, television is a science. You put the signal up, it's coming down, and you can grab it. Because it's still an art form, there are still other variances that fix in as to why the guy sat next to you is watching just fine and you can't. So that is something that has to be kind of bared in mind at all times when kind of justifying that. And the third part of it is the reason, or not reason why, one of the kind of things that we do differently is we own everything. We own the ingest, the website, the delivery, It's all custom built, it's all bespoke, it's all, you know, completely unique, and that enables us to do cool things like the Xbox One integration, the in-game streaming APIs, these types of things that are unique technology to Twitch because they interact with the Twitch site in its own way, and that is very, very powerful. And that makes Twitch a bigger machine, which makes it a bigger, you know, job to constantly be upgrading and expanding. And they're all, you know, contributing factors that we're always trying to address. And, you know, we may never get to 100% of users, you know, saying this is amazing. We may never get that guy in a logical geographical location or an illogical geographical location, but we sure as hell won't give up trying.
Would the transition to a smoother service, would it be occurring quicker? For example, would those data centers have been obtained faster if you had a competitor lapping at your heels and looking to smear you every time your service wasn't optimum?
No, the balls that are in motion now, or the wheels that are in motion now, have been, you know, are a direct result of growth and not a result of competition. You know, we are growing to meet the demands of our user base as opposed to the demands of a competitor.
Okay. How on a personal level, I mean, are you happy with kind of perceptions around about Twitch now? Because I got to be honest, I never know when people say bad things about a service, whether they're being the usual unreasonable esports kind of audience, or whether they're actually, you know, whether they've got valid complaints. It's something that I come across in, you know, in my job all the time. You know, you haven't posted an article for 5 minutes, you're a lazy asshole. You know, it's unreasonable to think that I can be doing, you know, a constant stream of work, but that seems to be the expectation. So, you know, are you happy with where Twitch is kind of positioned at the moment and the service it's offering? And do you get a little bit disheartened and dismayed when you see criticism?
Definitely disheartened and dismayed when you see criticism, because I know how hard, you know, everybody works to push Twitch in a positive direction and try and, you know, improve for the users. And I know how much every Twitch employee cares about the users. But am I, you know, am I happy with it? Yeah, of course, because the way that you have to measure this is, if the Twitch service wasn't working, then it wouldn't be growing at the rate it's growing. Because if it were a bad user experience, people wouldn't be coming on. Now, there's no doubting that we're aware of areas in which we can improve, but that doesn't mean we deliver a bad product in any way, shape, or form. So, no, I would be defensive to the point of saying, you know, I think we deliver a good service to both our users and to our partners, one that we're always trying to improve.
Let's talk about monetization. This is the big talking point in esports, and I want to talk about Twitch and kind of the deals that it offers streamers, and you know, whether it's something that's realistically viable for people to make a living from these days. But just before we get into that, what are your thoughts on ad block?
They are the bane of Twitch's existence, or any web-based company's existence. And obviously in a gaming demographic, the penetration of ad block is that much higher. If you compare television to online, television, there is no ad block. The ads play whether you're watching or not. You could have turned the TV off. The ads are still playing. TV is measured by, you know, very, very inaccurate methods. In the UK, it's the barb rating. They put barb rating boxes in 1,000 households and judge the entire country's viewing habits based off those 1,000 households. And that defines advertising pricing, whether people watch them or not. Mm-hmm. So that is a huge kind of inaccuracy that the web, because it's a more advanced metrics platform, doesn't have. It tells you exactly how many people watched your ad, for how long they watched it, and whether they clicked it. And that works for and against it. It means you can target much better, but it also means that there's no fluff on those numbers, because if you fluff them, you'll be unplugged within a second. So ad block is a very bad thing. I don't agree. I actually hate the self-righteousness of AdBlock Pro. If you read their website, they feel like they are the gods of the internet, and they define what is an acceptable ad or not.
Right.
I don't feel that they are not elected to do this. They have no right to say this is acceptable or this is not. I don't feel MPU advertising at 300 by 250 is bad. I don't feel pre-roll video at 30 seconds is bad. I think those two are pretty acceptable, web standards. Yes, pop-ups with smiley faces that make noises, those are a pain in the backside, and they depreciate user experience. But standard advertising that generates premium rates, I do not think Adblock Pro should have the divine right to shut down. So Adblock, I don't like.
Could Twitch do anything to basically fuck Adblock? Like, I mean, surely there's a way you could code the website so Adblock couldn't block your ads.
We tried that at Own3d actually, unsuccessfully.
Very unsuccessfully by the looks.
Tried it towards the end of it. Tried it for a day, and it worked for a day, and then within a day later, it was gone. It's not something you can challenge. Always look for ways in which you can, but currently there is not a way to do it. That's not to say that we're not always wondering or thinking, but currently it's not something we can do.
Where do you stand on the whole idea of almost like consumer choice? Because I guess inherent with the advertising, and I totally agree with your points on television, the measuring methods and how advertising works, whether you're out in the kitchen making a cup of tea or channel hopping or whatever, everyone still gets paid the money. But I mean, how do you feel about consumer choice? That if I don't want to necessarily be exposed to advertising, or if I want to support one stream over another and allow that streamer to make money, but not necessarily another guy, I have the right to exercise that choice. I mean, do you agree to a certain extent?
To a certain extent, yes, and that's why you have options like Turbo, you have options like subscriptions. We provide the option for user choice, and some users have been very vocal in saying, I'm an Adblock user, but I unblock for twitch.tv/streamgasm, or I subscribe to this channel and this channel only, and I unblock the rest of the site. People are very vocal about the methods in which they do that, and the variance in how they choose who to support and not, and the choices that you just allocated actually make it quite difficult to make a product that suits all of them. But we feel with things like Turbo, we've made a solution that fits most of them. And so yeah, you can't deny consumer choice. That's otherwise users will vote with their feet. Right.
So let's talk about the flat deals. One of the great things about Destiny when he was going through his particular issues, and this is one of the most popular streamers. This is a guy who gets written about in all the computing magazines that are poking their fork around the side of the esports plate, trying to figure out what it's all about. He is deemed to be almost like the benchmark, if you like, for kind of professional streaming right now, and the money he makes from it and how he makes a living from it. So he was very transparent in the kind of money he was making when he was talking about the revenue streams. Do you feel, well, first of all, can we talk about those? I mean, the kind of flat rates and stuff streamers get. Are there any like varying scales? Do you offer kind of unique packages, if you like, for certain streamers?
So there is a nice clause in our contract with our streamers that has the word confidentiality in it, which I can easily hide behind and just kind of be like, I'm not going to talk about that. It's pretty common knowledge that our standard partner CPM that we pay out to all partners is $3.50. And we're always looking at ways that can be improved. There's a big internal discussions in ways that can be improved. Currently, looking at geography and so forth. But going forward, that's pretty much the standard. That's what we offer our partners, because if you compare that to what's on the market, if you compare that to what was on the market from previous platforms, then that is a extremely competitive rate to be received.
What about? I mean, are there any deals kind of done not off the books, but kind of like, as you said, confidentiality? Could you say so much that certain streamers might get a higher rate?
We always look at unique situations where for example, a streamer or a team brings unique added value based on their brand, based on their traffic, based on something. There certainly are ways in which Twitch has a like maybe almost a marketing relationship. You see the Twitch logos on some of the teams, for example, with some of the content providers. So if you look at it from a marketing perspective, there's definitely some marketing that Twitch does with some of the teams.
Okay. And what about? Can you tell us how viable you think it is? Like, let's say there's people out there watching this show now, have tuned in. I mean, all 60 of them. We always get more people catching the VOD because I never advertise the show, and I can't get it on Reddit because Reddit hates me. So let's say one of those 60 people watching, like, you know, the young red eye of the future is thinking, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to get into this streaming thing. It sounds great. How viable is it for that kind of person to be making a living off it? What kind of numbers do they need to hit to get the return that actually allows them to say fuck it to the day job?
Obviously, that's dependent on geographical location, cost of living, and those disclaimers that I can throw in at the beginning. But then it's also about how you build your brand. I go back to the Phantom Lord example, who sells Minecraft pickaxes through his stream. Who the Two Goods, you know, who was in the chat, I think may have left now, who has built this brand that exists around, you know, these are the things we do for the community. Subscribe to us, please, you know, because this is the investment we're making in the community. We can do tournaments as a result of it, and things like that. You know, those types of ways in which the streamer goes, you know, sees ad revenue not as the sole revenue stream from their streaming persona. That's the most successful way to go, to diversify your revenue streams away from exclusively ad rev. If you do go exclusively ad rev, obviously big League of Legends numbers work well. Smaller numbers work also very well if you've got a good geographical mix, if you've got a lower ad block percentage, or if you've got subscriptions. These types of things all kind of add into it. So it's still a bit of an art to perfecting the sweet spot. You know, so for example, a StarCraft player, which is a largely North American viewed game, versus a Dota player, which is a largely, you know, Pan-Asian viewed game, they could have the exact same, you know, viewership, but they could have disproportional revenues despite having the exact same CPM. You know, there's a lot in it that makes that a very difficult question to answer specifically.
Okay. Do you feel it's viable for people to, again, coming back to this League of Legends issue, I mean, do you think it's viable for people to eventually build up kind of a user base if they stay away from League of Legends? Or do you think right now, realistically, if you're not involved with League of Legends, it's going to be very hard for you to kind of make a living from streaming?
Oh no, there are a lot of good streamers who, you know, make good revenue from nothing to do with League, nothing to do with esports. In fact, they've created, you know, their own personality. They're the speedrunning guys. Some of the ones who come from, you know, big YouTube networks. Some of the charity streams, obviously not doing it for a living, but they make good ad revenue. There are the tournament streams. There are a whole, you know, variety of subgenres on Twitch that exist where, you know, ad revenue, you know, gives companies or individuals a sizable, you know, revenue stream every year.
So my final question for this segment, before we start segueing into hell, and maybe some of these questions have felt like we're already there, and for that I apologize. How badly do Twitch fear the potential death of LCS?
Of LCS, I mean, I think if you look at the noises coming out of Riot publicly, there's no noise from them suggesting that there is a death of LCS.
Absolutely not. But I mean, I guess what I'm kind of saying is, let's just say tomorrow, if LCS wasn't around, what would happen to Twitch? What would necessarily fill the void?
Do you mean LCS or League in general?
LCS, I guess.
Well, if Riot decided, you know, we're not going to run these tournaments anymore, it would go back to a kind of a pre-existing status quo of ESL will pick up LCS, you know, start running more League tournaments. MLG would start running more League tournaments. There is an ecosphere that already exists to support games that developers do not support. Obviously, Riot support is fantastic, and it's taken it to a level that is just, you know, raising the bar week on week. And you see Blizzard now is getting there with WCS. But if developers did not make the moves they're making right now, I do think that that the streaming communities that exist would still be, you know, okay. They would still be fine. There are still ways to build those stars up.
And I guess, I mean, do you try and get ahead of the curve when it comes to new games that are coming out? I mean, like League of Legends was kind of a phenomenon, right? Dota 2's just come out of beta. I'm guessing that's going to prove to be a very popular game on Twitch, no doubt about that. But are you like looking at other games, potential future games, so you can jump on that before it gets big, and then you've got that organic transition?
Not only potential future games, but games that the streaming revolution just kind of missed, for example. Games and communities that streaming revolution missed. So, yes, we're working with close to as many developers as will pick up the phone call to us to talk about streaming with them, but also with looking, back at games, and we've managed to cover them for largely, but look at why is WoW a big streaming game and Lineage 2 is not, for example, just picking possibly a bad example. But those exist. And those are ones that are still missed opportunities until there's a way in which they can be streaming games.
Okay, so we're going to go back to James before we go into hell. James, what's happening on Twitter? What are people saying? All 60 of them.
Sorry, muted myself. We haven't had any light-hearted things. I was trying to gauge people's imagination, trying to get people to ask questions, and Pansy just said, "I just like listening to Stu speak." So
he has got a wonderful voice. There is no doubt about that.
That was a lovely compliment.
Someone said that about me on Team Liquid. Actually, they said they like to. Yeah, they said they'd love to be able to fall asleep listening to my voice every night, which is kind of good, but also kind of bad because it suggests they were falling asleep while I was on air. But anyway,
I thought like in person maybe that would have been even weirder.
It's perhaps a service I might start offering.
I think there's words for that kind of thing. And we had a couple of people answer the question that's on the screen now. Who's it? L. Jeeves said Twitch does not necessarily need a competitor, but they do need constant poking to improve. That'll be theirs and their clients' benefit. And
I think fair statement.
Yeah, and we had similar response from MWJK13, who said there needs to be more options. People like options, it seems.
Good old options. There's also this recurring question from this one guy, and I like this guy because he always turns up to my shows. I like it. There's a guy called Max Riga or Riga. I'm guessing Riga. It looks like a Riga. And he wanted to know, did Too Good get you your job, Stu?
No. Actually, James and I always had like a little bit of a rivalry. It's kind of odd as to why. I think it's both because we're English. I don't know. We always had this little bit of like, maybe it's ego clashes or whatever. But no, I didn't get my job at Twitch through James.
Okay. Any further elaboration? Or are we okay to leave it there?
Why do people think that? Has he been telling people that?
Max said he said it on stream, but I can't verify whether he did or not. I don't have the VOD in front of me. So.
There are always a lot of Too Good questions when I have a microphone pointed at me these days. It could be related to a comment I made on ES Reality some years ago when the James and the MLG incident happened. I said, look, clearly a talented guy, but he's got to rein it in because he's got brands. Brands he can't burn all the bridges he's got. So it could be kind of that, like everyone's like, James got this big rivalry, blah blah blah. But for example, James and I had quite lengthy chats at DreamHack about kind of ways in which we can work together, things we can do, and so on. And I think he's built a pretty exciting business in terms of not only has he got the good studio, he's got the game working out, and he's got other things that maybe haven't been made public. So I think he's living a pretty cool life. So good for him.
Okay. Right. So on that note, we are going to be segueing into hell gloriously. Still keep the question of the day. Do we need more options than just Twitch TV in mind? But what you may or may not know, if you didn't join us at the start of the show, I'm going to give you a little recap. Stuart will be talking about his time with Owned with a 3 because esports people love putting numbers in place of letters. Yeah, exactly. Elite speak. Awesome. And he's going to be talking about how that kind of all went wrong. And indeed, how he ended up at Twitch as a result of that wrongness. So do stay tuned. We're going to take a little 5-minute break. I don't know if Streamgasm, do you show ads in this break?
I think we might.
Okay, so we're going to show you ads. The kind of ads you can't block with ad block, which I'm told is killing the esports industry one day at a time. But anyway, don't go anywhere. 5 minutes. I'm going to go down to my hotel lobby and get a coffee, and we'll be right back.
Get that side swipe going, Jane.
And we're live. Yes, I am drinking a lovely cup of cafe con leche that I got out of a vending machine because esports is so fucking glamorous. Right, so we're back. We talked about heaven, the heavenly side of the streaming business, and that is indeed Twitch TV and their ascendancy to the very top of the scene. We're now about to talk about the hellish side, and we've got the same guy to do it because he happened to be there when it all came tumbling down at Own3d TV. So Tosspot is still with us. The question of the day is going to remain the same because we haven't really designed another and we can't be fucked to change the overlay. But if you want to ask us some Own3d TV specific questions, now is the time to do it. What happened there? So we're going to start. Stu, Own3d TV. It looked to me to be almost ahead of Twitch at one point. I mean, maybe it was. It kind of felt like they were the market leaders for a time. I don't know if that's an incorrect outsider's perception. So what went wrong when it was all going so well? How did it come tumbling down?
It came tumbling down because the company didn't scale effectively, didn't scale its operation effectively. You know, to run a business, you need to have a CFO, an accountant. You need to have, you know, and within just those two roles, you can then add more to do accounts receivable and these types of things. You then need to have, you know, HR. Maybe you didn't need HR, but you then need to have, you know, kind of payment processing, partner payments, contracts, and legal. You need to have all these kind of silos of your business. And Own didn't scale effectively to handle the weight of the growth that came on its shoulders, and then it collapsed under that growth.
But I mean, that sounds to me almost as if what we're actually talking about is ineptitude. I mean, you know, or certainly an oversight. on the part of the people in charge?
There certainly might have been some inexperience on the part of the people in charge, but it was also they were also held back by they didn't have a great deal of funding. Every penny counted, double as to where they were going to spend that money, and it was a competitive landscape at the time as well. So, I mean, Own grew organically as opposed to structurally, and you can certainly analyze in that and say the way the company grew probably from about 6 months before I joined, kind of like Q3 2011 through to the summer of last year. Those were the opportunities where they really needed to just raise a little bit more cash and invest not in gaming or the product at all, but in the company itself, and that would have seen them through things. But ultimately, they didn't, and that was probably the contributor to the downfall.
Did you know the writing was on the wall kind of before it happened? Did you have an inkling? Because I remember again talking to you when you were at Owned, and you seemed quite upbeat. I don't know if that was like just an external thing or whether things were genuinely good at that time. So I mean, did you get kind of a forewarning that things were going to go as bad as they did?
So when I joined, I was told the company was profitable. So obviously, I thought at that point, things are rosy. That ultimately wasn't the case. And for a period of time, everything seemed quite positive, quite rosy. They took on some additional funding around the summertime to kind of stem the tide. Things were looking good. But I did instantly know from my first day, which was May. I kind of like been dark launched in, but May 1st was my first day, and that was the day when TSM joined Twitch. TSM were the biggest league streamers on Owned, and they moved to Twitch. And then on my third day, CLG served notice that they were moving as well. Now, we were able to save the CLG relationship, but TSM were gone. And so I certainly knew things were up, and I spent my entire first week calling. It was actually quite good because I got to know all of our partners. I called every one of our partners and said, what's going on? Are there any issues that I need to be aware of with your account? Here's my background if you don't already know me. I've run prize purse tournaments in small games that you've never heard of, and I've made sure that we've always paid. So one thing you can rely on from me is that we'll always get you paid, and I will work to that effect, and I will be honest with you and so forth. So I knew already, straight away from my first week something was up, but I certainly couldn't have foreseen the closure some 6-7 months later that was coming.
Right. Well, you've kind of led me into this question, and I know there's going to be a lot of League of Legends fans that'll probably be interested in this. Was the CLG deal, the deal that you put on the table to sort of retain them, was that the deal that effectively killed you?
Well, quite possibly. You're talking. Now that I can go into specifics somewhat, but not too much. You asked in the Heaven side about custom deals that Twitch might do with partners. Well, Own did a huge volume of custom deals, and this one was done long before I joined, and it was, it was the sole biggest sponsorship in esports probably. And if you consider how much you can guess other sponsorships are worth in esports, that tells you that this is an incredible amount of money that was being spent. Sole biggest team sponsorship. Obviously, the leagues can generate more money, but it was an absolutely incredible volume of cash that was going out, and just wasn't. You could see in some months it was making some back in advertising, but just wasn't covering it at all. And that also coincided. That deal. Of the two teams that left between TSM and CLG, TSM went on to win North American season, and their streaming numbers grew. And CLG have been on a bit of a steady decline since then. And they're not the WCG winning team that they were, and so that money was going out, and it just was a depreciating investment month after month. So,
in your opinion, definitely not worth the money spent to try and retain them.
No, very nice organization and team, but that was a crazy amount of money.
How can someone within a company like Owned that are alleged to know the esports business. How can somebody make that, again, that kind of oversight that I mean, one of the things that I come across, obviously, return of investment, right? Everyone loves a bit of ROI, massive ROI. It's a fucking buzzword. It's what everyone talks about. Whenever my company does, a campaign of any sort, it's about the ROI. What are we getting for our money? Now, surely the people at Owned, there must have been someone who said, well, if we give CLG all that cash, I mean, we're not going to get an equivalent return. So was it a status thing? Almost like we can't lose CLG as well?
Well, this deal was done before TSM left, so it was continuing an already existing deal. Too Good's thrown out a number in chat as to what his guess was. Over 12 months, it was more than that.
Wow.
And that tells you how much is out there. To your question of was there proper kind of checks and balances in terms of this investment versus what was being returned? I honestly don't know how this deal was paid for or put together. It was such a big one by such a young company as well that just didn't have the deep pockets to be able to afford it. And ultimately, in the downfall and the collapse, it wasn't the team, the organization that lost out. The sponsorship payments, as Kelby said in the CLG documentary, this huge volume of cash made it to the team. It was the player streaming revenue that lost out. So it was the players that lost out on their ad revenue. That was the thing that didn't get paid to them. And that, ultimately is the saddest part of the story. It's, and this is a pretty sad story because this is people trying to make their livelihoods. People that I know now very well, having worked with them at Own3d and Twitch. Good people who just haven't been paid and so forth. So there weren't the checks and balances in on those investments, that's for sure, and there were not there clearly wasn't the ROI delivered.
Let's talk about players not getting paid by Owned. Now, I know, obviously, when any company goes under, you effectively have to prioritize who gets their cash first out of a limited pool. I still talk to players today that, I'm not saying they hold out hope of getting their own money. I don't think anyone's that forcibly naive. But can you? I don't know how involved you were in kind of maybe influencing the payments of who got paid first. But it seems to me that despite Own's kind of overtures to looking after players, actually players were kind of sidelined by Owned when it went under.
When it goes under, it goes, and it goes to liquidators. They basically evaluate who has a legal right to money first. And I think, that really just wipes out the hope of any team ever getting any money. The legal right goes to shareholders, and it goes to staff members, it goes to vendors, and then it'll go to contractors. So it will really wipe it out. When it went down, everyone lost, salaries, a month or two of salaries, maybe for some stuff even more, I don't know. There's definitely no chance. And in terms of the earlier point about influencing who got paid and when, it was always what money made it in by the first of the month and who is the partner that's most likely to leave. Now, this was kind of like the second half of my 6 months at Own. First 3 months were fine. Second half was pretty sure this guy might be talking to Twitch. Let's make sure we pay him. Or this guy said, if you don't pay me by X, I'm leaving. And doing that. So number of it really was a bit frantic and a bit crazy. And in the end, it got to a point to kind of reveal something that hasn't been made public. Where it got to a point where I remember in August speaking to Team Liquid and meeting Victor and James and saying, guys, you should come on over to Own. And they were like, send me over an offer. We're happy with Twitch, but send me over an offer anyway. And about a month later, Victor chased me and said, are you ever going to send over this offer? And I had to reply and say, you do not want an offer.
What was that like for you personally? Because I know one of the hardest parts about what I do, I consider myself pretty, down to earth. I interact with the players. I pride myself on, knowing everyone in kind of all tiers of esports. I don't like to shut myself off from anybody. And it really upsets me when I have to almost promote a league or a tournament that doesn't pay out prize money while at the same time talking to the players and knowing that they're not getting that money. It makes me feel like I'm part of the problem. It's never sat easy with me, but sometimes it's almost like a necessary evil as part of what I do. But it does make me sick to the pit of my stomach every time I have to do it. So what was it like for you having to talk to players that, you know, as you say, not happy, potentially not getting paid, and almost having to use your reputation to retain their services?
Yeah, utterly shit. I remember being on holiday and getting, it was like 3 o'clock where I was. I went to Spain, and it was 3 o'clock, and I got a call from one of the partners saying, "Stuart, we've not received any money this month. You said it was going to be here last week," and so on. I was like, I just don't have anything to tell you. The best thing is I can tell you is I'm going to go and ask and find out where it is, and if it's good news or bad news, I'll tell you. But the one thing that that you had to draw the line on doing was you just couldn't. If the partners thought you were bullshitting them, if you were furthering the web of lies, then you lost them straight away. If they thought and they believed what you were saying and you were always honest, they gave you some credibility for kind of, in the end, I felt like I was the Iraqi information minister. Where did that guy go? From internet jokes, where did that guy go? I remember him. And you just kind of felt that you had no idea what you were saying. You just had to be transparent. You just had to be like, look, this is the information I've been given. I will keep you updated if I know anything else. And actually, that analogy is completely misleading. Like, the people that were giving that information were giving it to the best of their knowledge. If ad payments were delayed to the company, then it was out of their hands. Once it got to a point where they couldn't raise additional cash, or they were trying to sell the company, the cash flow was what the cash flow was. You can't really, you can influence that as best as you can, but you can't change that. So there's no kind of criminal intent by anyone here. In other cases in esports, there are questions of, did such and such run away with the money? Well, in this case, the C-level staff, the 3 founders, I'm pretty sure weren't paying themselves for a long period of time. Were just working for free for months and months and months because they knew how dire it was, and still working every hour they could. So there's certainly, you can be mad and you can be angry, but ultimately, it was done with the best of intentions, I guess, by the founders.
How do you feel almost about one of the things my pet hate about esports is when people fuck up. And like you say, it can be best of intent. There is a world of difference between a malicious fuck up and a best of intentions fuck up. No doubt about it, right? There's a world of difference. There's a world of difference between someone who comes in, Kessa style, and tries to fuck over people, or leagues that, falsely advertise prize money that's never going to transpire, and people who literally think, yeah, this is going to be awesome, and then just through mistakes, lack of knowledge, lack of experience, it goes wrong. There is a world of difference. However, what I hate is that when both sets of those people just seem to walk into another esports job, they just seem to being at, I think is it Daily Motion he's at now, and perhaps getting another crack at the esports whip. I mean, is that fair for the people who've had to kind of suffer the first time around?
You could argue it's not fair, or you could argue that it's depriving the gaming industry, the esports industry, of someone who genuinely cares about the industry and could deliver good things for Daily Motion. And Daily Motion, as a big company, could deliver good things for esports. So I get your point entirely. And yeah, you could, I get your point entirely, and I'm 50-50. 50% of me says, you're right, fucked up, don't come back. You wouldn't get this, Madoff, the banking guy, he didn't get a second chance, he went straight to jail. And whereas, actually, to continue with that analogy, several bankers who brought the world to its knees did get second chances.
Exactly.
So 50-50 with you on that one.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and of course, it's a difficult question for you to answer because, look, I mean, I don't think you were part of the problem at Own at all. Like, just knowing what I know, and I think you did a lot of good things for the people that you were in a position to help when Owens went under. That's just what I know personally, which obviously I won't divulge on air. But equally, if I didn't know that, it might look like, hang on a minute, this Tosspot fellow was with Owned. They went under. He goes cruising to Twitch and gets all the talent that they got fucked over the first time to go for Twitch. Probably is on lesser rates. So you know, I mean, you could. Do you ever worry about what people might think and how being associated with a company like Owned might impact on you long term in the business?
Yeah, I don't often mention that I work for Owned for that very reason.
Yeah, it doesn't come up enough.
Yeah, I know you're right. You know, it's definitely a kind of, you know, scar or something like that on the arm because it went under, because a lot of people lost a lot of money. You know, I'm able to successfully articulate. You know, look at the Crossfire lands, look at the money, you know, we raised there and successfully always paid out. You know, look at what we've done at Twitch, and you know, those types of things always kind of, you are able to rise above. But there was, you know, if I hadn't, you know, there would certainly be an argument to be made kind of against anyone that went down with that ship.
So just a final question before I bring James into the conversation to see what's been happening in the wonderful world of the internet. How did you feel when you you were with Owned? Some people kind of stayed with Owned, and other people had already left you. What was it like kind of having to work with the people who'd left you, and what was it like being able to offer a lifeline to the people that had tried to stay and were trying to tough it out? Which gave you the sort of most sense of satisfaction?
Definitely the lifeline. Definitely knowing that that, you know, people Own's demise ultimately didn't go as badly for the industry and the people within the industry as it could have done. That's great satisfaction, and you know, it's actually unfortunate that remains kind of a private fact, and you know, the details of that have never, you know, never have been and probably never will be released, simply because, you know, that's a great thing that happened there. Yeah. But
it's a story I've always wanted to tell, but I just feel it would upset people, and it's a very strange position to be in, to be keeping a secret about something good in esports, you know, like as opposed to keeping the bad. You know, it's a very strange position to be in. But you're absolutely right. I think it would make people have a very different perception about, you know, things. But anyway, so side issue.
Yeah. To those that kind of left Owned for Twitch at any point along the way and then having to work with them again, actually weren't that many. And those that left Owned for Twitch at any point when I were there, you know, left because they hadn't been paid. And, you know, they were trying to pay their bills, and it's kind of like, yeah, I can't really be mad at you for that reason. So all the best to you. You know, so that's kind of you know, how I feel there. Kind of like the best of a bad situation ended up happening.
Yeah. Right then, James, on the best
Hello.
of bad situation. Are you making the best of bad situation in the Twitter sphere?
Oh, I am indeed. Yes,
yeah.
I am. I've got two topics that I would like to talk to you about, Stu. And the first one is, we were talking earlier about ads and ad block and things, and how you try to Owned to combat that and try and combat ads. But it's like trying to get rid of hacks in games. It's trying to get rid of cheats. You know, they're going to work around it a day later, so you can't do that. Someone suggested in chat, and I've heard this one before as well, that why would it be possible to include the ads inside the streaming application, like XSplit or OBS, and then it would be streamed as video feed to the user instead of an ad?
Utilizing current technology, the answer is no. There's certainly people have looked at that in the past, and the reason for that is that basically ads are served via a third-party ad company. The big ones are LiveRail and DoubleClick by Google. And if you serve your ads by them, they generate a certain type of reporting, which is industry accepted. And that's what then gets you more ads later on. That's then verified by Comscore or a third-party data analytics company, and that is the process that exists. That is the ad world, whether it's display, whether it's video, whether it's Twitch, whether it's Google, whether it's anywhere. If you want to be a credible ad sales company, you have to serve. Be a third party, a reputable third party ad serving company, and the only way in which you can do that is injecting it into the stream via a pre-roll or a mid. You cannot kind of embed that within the Flash video, because if you embed it within the Flash video as well, you're also not calling in any tags that are pulling in regional specifics, or not checking fill rates, not checking, you're not calling that server because it's already been encoded into the video. So it doesn't work on a global level. And it's not possible. There are people who've looked at it. James mentioned experts have tried, and a number of people have tried to somehow find a way to hide adverts within Flash. But what also then hinders that is you could do this all in Flash, and then you could decide, actually, we're moving to another streaming protocol as well. So you've then got to make that work over multiple devices and so forth. So it's a good idea. It sounds like it makes sense, but unfortunately, it doesn't.
Yeah, you've obviously spent a lot of time thinking about these things, probably a lot more at Twitch than most have. So, yeah. And the other, sort of staying with the application side of things, another thing that was mentioned in the chat is the iOS app. And this is something I can relate to personally, because I've tried to watch Twitch while I'm, out of the house and on the train or something if I'm bored. And so on Bob Dole and It's True Stew in chat were talking about, the downsides to the app, the fact that we can't watch VODs and it's quite laggy. Is there any updates coming up for the iOS app? And
there is.
There is.
But I don't know how much more I can tell you about that, because I don't know whether we do any releases around these or anything like that. So I can tell you that all of our mobile applications are regularly updated. We have a platforms team who look at mobile, Android, 360, these types of things. And the update cycle is rarely published, because they're often kind of very small updates that just fix one bug or something like that. But there are updates en route for all platforms, always. So we never just kind of release it and that's what you got. Deal with that for the next year until we put out another one. So yes, the hope is on the horizon for you.
Yeah, it's good to know at least that there's teams there working on it actively, because it's something I'd noticed personally, and I saw it in chat and it kind of hit home. I was like, that's a good point. But yeah, those were the main two topics that I had from the chat and Twitter.
I know you seem disappointed, James.
Well, there has been a lot less conversation going on. Not necessarily in the chat, but on Twitter and things. Have been a lot less questions than usual. But that's fine. We had some good stuff from the people who are talking, and those of you who are.
Our problem
props.
is this is a grown-up show for grown-up people, and we work in esports. I think having a 2-hour discussion about the nature of the streaming business, it might have been a little bit lofty. We should have got maybe one of those booth babes to come in at the halfway point.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah,
next week.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll get my boobs out.
Here's the question for James: how many hundreds of thousands of people concurrently will watch COD 4 at Prague in a month's time?
District Prague in a month's time. Concurrently, probably at least 200,000 people.
What's the Riot record's 1.1 million or something? I think we'll break that.
We'll get there. We'll be close. We'll be pushing it. They'll be nervous, put it that way. They'll be sweating in the Riot headquarters watching this COD 4 stream from Prague. They will.
I actually hope it does well, man, because I'm just getting sick of fucking console COD. I don't understand. Look, I know. Look, you're sniggering. As I found out, right, I'll tell a little story here. James is gonna hate this. I was doing an interview. James was interviewing me. I don't know why the fuck you want to do that when we work together, but he wanted to pick my brains about gaming on camera, and I didn't know this, but Streamgasm generally they have kind of a good relationship with Activision and the Activision community manager, and pretty much the thrust of my answers were all fuck Activision. Literally, I even said that at one point, and I just ranted for about 15 minutes about how terrible Call of Duty's become, and console gaming and blah blah blah. And I'm guessing that's why that interview hasn't surfaced yet, James.
Actually, none of the interviews have surfaced yet. They're on the way. Talking of which, there's a video on YouTube today that you can watch. Oh, yeah. Promotion.
Yeah, and Richard isn't in it.
No. There is more interviews coming out, and yours will be one of them. How much of yours will be in there? I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm going to stand by it. I'm going to stand by my fuck Activision thing.
No,
fits in with when Richard's abusing Activision, you can just put segments of Pansy being excited about World of Tanks in there.
Yeah, just even it out.
Yeah,
balance it. There we go.
So, we'll come back to you before the end of the show, James. I've just been told I've had it in my ear that Too Good wants to come on at some point. We'll let Stuart go first. Otherwise, I think we'll have another Thorin type slasher incident on air, which nobody wants. So we're going to kind of just get to the downslope. Now, Own3d TV went under, as we all know. We've spent some time talking about exactly why that was. And then history kind of repeated itself, although not entirely in the same way, with Azubu. What was Twitch's relationship like with Azubu when they were prominent, when they were kind of, before they went under?
We know some of the staff there. Garvey from CLG runs the North American office of Azubu. Met one or two of the guys from the German office. They keep themselves to themselves. They've got they had staff in Korea as well. And it was we had a respectful relationship. Let's put it that way.
When you say that, I mean, was there any kind of behind the scenes poaching of talent going on, bidding for the rights to stream big gaming tournaments? Because I think it's inevitable, if it isn't there already, that esports will get to that kind of stage where we see Sky Sports bidding phenomenal amounts of money to get the rights to the Premiership, and then ESPN or Setanta. Hello, are we back? Right, sorry, I don't know what that was. I'm just going to turn my video back on. I'm guessing it was too much to expect Spanish internet to last for 2 hours consecutively. Whereabouts did we cut out? That's all right, no worries. Sorry about that, guys. If we're still on air. Oh, technical problems, gotta love it. So yeah, this is why you don't do stuff from Spain. All right, I'll drag Stu in again, and I'll drag James in again, and then separately see if they come through. So I'm getting the busy sign for them. What the fuck's that about? Is it possibly a Skype thing then? Because actually my browser was still working when Skype went down. Are they? Right, okay. Yeah. Hi then. think we'll that should fix it. Sorry about that, fellas.
Have you you know about alternate dimensions, yeah?
Yeah. What's happening in that one?
I'm pretty sure we were just in one.
That's pretty good. Well, I apologize. Well, I don't know if it was the Spanish net or whatever, but I think it was just Skype because my browser was actually fine. So yeah, don't host shit on Skype. But yeah, people are joking in the chat about us being DDoSed by Activision. So
I think it may be. Oh, I can see Stu and myself, but I can't see Richards.
That's not a bad thing.
Oh,
necessarily.
there we go. We're sorted.
So are we slowly clambering back? Right. Okay.
We're back.
So what I was saying before Activision shut me down was that was there any kind of bidding wars going on between Azubu and Twitch at the time? Were you guys kind of trying to undercut each other, offering competitive rates to get the rights to stream tournaments and to retain top streaming talent and things like that?
To my knowledge, there's not been any. Well, I mean, there are some that the teams had the option at the end of Own3d to go to Twitch or Azubu, like SK or CLG or something. So you can see that they went to Azubu. But largely tournaments have we're already in agreements with Twitch or something like that, predating the foundation of Azubu. So there's not been that type of rights winning war that you describe. It would interest me to see one day if that comes along. There's a possibility that the TV model could replicate itself out into esports when TV goes off analog and moves on to digital delivery. That may be possible. I read an article this week as TV will become an app of your television. Is kind of the way it was suggesting things might be going. And if that's the case, and television gets delivered via IP, then who knows? But we're not there yet, and we probably won't be for a fair few years yet.
Were you surprised by what was going on with Azubu? I mean, because I was always suspicious of Azubu TV from the moment it was announced. I was like, yeah, this ain't. I saw how that story was going to end. Maybe I didn't get the whole international money laundering thing into the storyline somewhere, but I knew it was going to collapse in a ball of flames. There was no doubt about that. So did you have a similar outlook?
Nothing in esports surprises me. So no. I mean, I had first been made aware of the parent investment group behind Azubu at Gamescom last year. When they were looking to put together seeing as this hasn't happened, I guess it's going to be revealed. They were looking to put together a joint venture between the major leagues in each continent. They were looking to buy a small stake in each of the major leagues in each continent and create some super league. That didn't happen. They weren't able to pull that off. And then Azubu appeared. So yes, we knew Azubu was coming, from some time in advance. But those types of things, nothing should surprise you in this industry, Rich. You've gone from being in LA writing for CGS to now in a quality Spanish accommodation drinking cafe con leche.
I like to think I've done all that to myself, though. I could have been somebody in esports, but I didn't like what you had to do to sort of be that somebody. And it's tough actually. It's funny you should joke about it. I always do you know when you see the guys who used to be the fucking man, who used to be fuck the big companies, fuck the money, esports a community thing. And I bump into them now, and they're wearing flash suits, and they work for one of those big companies with some bumfuck title like community manager, which is the most hilarious title in all of esports and gaming. Community manager means you use the forums more than the people with real power, pretty much. But it's kind of sad. I think there's not many of us left to do.
There are. I mean, Red Eye will be in the grave soon. I mean, he's only got one leg working now.
Bless him.
Yeah, and he'll be. Yeah, that'll be interesting. The first esports funeral.
I mean, obviously there's been one sad, a genuinely sad one. It has happened. Obviously, we've had a few fatalities along the way of good people that I would have liked to still seen in esports. It's kind of like everything. It's like presidents. Like Kennedy gets assassinated. Reagan gets wounded. There's no fucking justice in the world. But yeah, I've only had to pen one esports obituary. So I'm hoping it's not going to become a regular thing. But I guess as old fogies start getting on in years, maybe someone's going to have to write mine. Who knows?
Well, the interesting thing was we used to say kind of like at the beginning of all of this, what's important will be when our generation of esports, kind of the first esporters, grow up and go into the real world, and then they're in positions of buying, and that's when esports will explode. I met one of those last week, and actually want to buy in esports because he had such a preconception of the user that they were too hardcore for his product that it wouldn't work. So it's an interesting kind of circle that's happening as everything evolves.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where we all are. And I think, one of the things that I do like, and this is kind of tie in this weird tangent to the show before we go over to James, and I'll let you go and get on with the rest of your evening, is that what's been great about watching the development of the streaming business is that it's given everyone within esports that realization that actually we don't need to pander to television. We don't need to pander to the mainstream media. And if anything, we're now putting together a product that they're trying to emulate. And we've got the drop on them for maybe the first time since esports, began back in the 90s. Do you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. There used to be a saying in television that the porn industry led technological evolution in TV. So they were the first ones to use new technology that became available for TV, and were accepted. It would then move on to regular TV. Well, gaming is certainly another one of those examples. Roger Wilco and Ventrilo became Skype. PHPB and vBulletin forums became Facebook. And what will happen on the video streaming side? Who knows where it'll end up? But you can already see that platforms like Twitch and YouTube are offering such a diverse range of content at such a low cost base to the end user and to the broadcaster itself that television budgets are starting to shift, and that eyes are moving. So a change is coming. Winter is coming.
Don't. Who's going to be Tyrion? That's the big question. I got a tragic inevitability. I think I'm a bit like Sean Bean in that show, man. I don't know if I'll be around to see winter, but we'll see. Right. So before I let you go, we'll go back to James for one last time. So if there's been any specific questions aimed at the lovely Tosspot, then I'm thinking, and I'm just going to double check, is Too Good going to come on to do his usual brand of iconoclastic ranting? Let's see if he is. So I'm just going to double check he's still with us and hasn't gone off to play Dota 2. But anyway,
while you do that, then I'll just say we've had someone in the chat called the Slain Man. He made 2 comments while you were chatting before, talking about TV over IP. Imagine all the bandwidth it would need.
Yeah,
it's a horrific thought.
Yeah, my PC itself wouldn't handle that. That's for sure.
No, and apparently the next he feels like the next episode of Esports Heaven should be all about Skype's monopoly in esports.
Yeah.
You know what? It's an interesting topic, but I don't know if it's a monopoly per se. I think it's just us being lazy assholes. And if Google, to be honest, if Google Hangouts had slightly bigger, kind of camera resolutions and was a bit more flexible, we'd probably use that.
Oh yeah, we started off Google Hangouts.
We did. I remember coming on one of your shows when it was Google Hangouts.
Yeah, well, our first few shows were Google Hangouts, but you just didn't really have the flexibility with the overlays and things that you have that you can do with Skype and XSplit joined together. So, but yeah, maybe we'll see another program application in the future that will replace Skype. I don't know.
The real question is, what will Live on 3 blame if they don't have Skype anymore? Like, what will they blame for all the technical problems they have?
It has to be anti-DDoS.
Tap into next.
Yeah. So, Stu.
There could be an NSA agent listening in on our conversation right now. What have you got to say to him?
Get out.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything.
Now.
I've already incriminated myself more than enough several times over. And indeed, if you were listening to the chat before we were on air, I'm definitely in big trouble. So, so Stu, the future. We always like to end on a positive note. We come out of hell, unscorched by the flames, and we look to a brighter, soothing note to finish on. So, the streaming industry, where are we going to be soon? What does Twitch TV have in store, and what are you going to be up to on a personal level?
So the future sees streaming growing. It sees streaming coming to consoles direct from next generation consoles. It sees accessibility grow through multiple devices. In that, it sees a diversification of the audience away from traditional PC titles, not necessarily away from, but other audiences grow, and the gap between PC and console viewing drops. These are all very important things. It sees platforms like Twitch move into the living room. If they weren't there through home theater PCs, they're there through gaming devices now. These are very, very big things that will happen, and you will suddenly be live streaming to a website with such a viewership potential that you never know who could watch. You probably know most of the viewers in here. I recognize many of the names from COD and whatnot. You'll get to the point where random console user number 46, connected from Bogota, Colombia, is watching your stream, and that's powerful. That's suddenly real internationalization. When you're talking about numbers that just dwarf anything that have gone before in our industry. That's the next step for esports that makes it more accessible, and it'll help it grow. So very positive stuff coming on the horizon with those types of expansions, and just the continued growth. The more people are picking up. There was a phenomenal article in the Daily Telegraph 2 or 3 weeks ago about esports. It was hugely positive. This was front page of the Telegraph online. It was in the paper as well. I don't know where it was in the paper. Front page, hugely positive about esports. Yes, it did in Korea, it's on television that we've seen 8,000 times, but asking the player if they're making money and respecting it has changed. So,
did they have to trot out Day 9 as like the only guy in esports again, or did they talk to someone else? That's a pet hate of mine.
Well, it's in the UK. There's only one person in esports, and that's Odie. So if it's a UK publication, Odie's on it. Sky, Telegraph, hi Odie in chat, by the way. Sky, Telegraph, you name it, he's in it. BBC. So he was in it for sure. But those types of things are very, very positive, and they make a big imprint. So future positive for Twitch, for streaming, for esports. For me, I'm going to try and get my side swipe as good as James's, because he's got that nailed, and I'm still lacking a bit there. And once I've mastered that, I'll try facial hair, which just has never worked for me.
So just before I let you go, if people want to keep up with what you're doing, Stu, what's the best way to do it, and where will they see you next? Is there a glory? I mean, you're going to be casting soon.
I've got 2 this summer that I'll be casting. District Prague, and back where it kind of all started for me, and for Red Eye, I will be at QuakeCon this year. Not actually as a shoutcaster, but I will certainly try and steal the mic for 1 match or 2. And that, to me, doing a COD 4 LAN and a Quake LAN sounds like old times, sounds like a hell of a lot of fun, and it sounds like it'll be amazing. So I'm really looking forward to it. I actually wish now, with the invention of Twitch, that I could actually, A, there were active communities in games that I enjoyed that I could go and shoutcast, and B, that the Gits at BT would see it fit for Central London to receive fiber. When they make that decision, I will be able to actually get fiber.
Well, and one last question: do you ever have any plans to just stream stuff yourself? Like, I mean, what better endorsement for the product you effectively sell than being on there every day?
Me streaming would be the worst endorsement because my connection cannot handle it. I have a connection from close to the turn of the millennium. Like it's pathetic what I have. I live in Paddington. I live in central London. There should be fiber where I live. And for 3 years since I moved to Paddington, it's been coming soon, coming soon. I look on that BT Open World thing, coming soon. Virgin Media don't do it, so I can't use it. I can't use the product I work for, which is a crying shame.
Okay, well, look, it is a crying shame, Stu, because I do love talking to you. It's always a high point at events when we get to have one of our little conversations.
Wait. Where did 100 people come from? They better not all be here for James.
Yeah, obviously, Too Good's
Probably.
been spamming it around that he's going to appear and he's going to say some shit. So I'm prepared, Stu. I'm prepared.
Let me tell you guys who have showed up just for Too Good some real Too Good home truths. That cat in his thing, he doesn't feed it. Trance feeds it.
That's true.
James is actually evil to all cats and all animals in general. He doesn't wash his own hair. He has someone to do that for him. You know, there are a number of dark secrets you just don't know.
I'm working on an article about my time in the Too Good house, actually, which I'm sending to James very soon because I need to get his approval before I hit publish. Because I am a respectful journalist like that, Stu. So
good.
Yeah.
Hopefully there are lots of lies in there that discredit him and start a revolution.
Not lies. He does have an entourage, which surprised me. I didn't think that'd be real, but he actually had like a bunch of guys kind of following him around and like, can I get you a drink kind of thing in his own home, which was kind of a bit surreal. But
could you ask him why is his brother a good-looking specimen of human being? What happened with him?
It's like that film Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
Junior. It was called Junior.
No. Junior's the one where he gets pregnant.
Oh.
And he's a woman. Yeah. Trust me, I'm old enough to remember watching Twins in the cinema. So
wow.
back before there was even a 12 rating. So I'm quite an old man. Anyway, we're definitely getting waylaid. Stu, before we start discussing the finer points of Arnold Schwarzenegger's career, I'm going to let you go. Honestly, thanks a lot for coming on the show. I'm sorry that our viewership doubled, nearly tripled the minute you left, but we do get good numbers on the VODs. I think we've had a very good intellectual and adult discussion about the streaming business, which is what we wanted to achieve, and it will be there through the awesome power of the internet for some time to come. So thanks a lot for contributing to that, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Cheers, Rich. Have a good show. Bye-bye.
Let's hope so.
Cheers.
So I'm going to get James dragged in for this now through the magic of Skype. We'll see if he's going to appear on time or whether he's going to be feeding his Venomancer or whatever it is he likes to do in his spare time. See Dota 2 speak. I'm down with every game. I'm so cool. So, the circle.
Loading.
Yeah. Oh, and a camera.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, no, we just got to realign you and change your name. Your Twitter will be the Stew Pot temporarily. Oh, brilliant. Right, James, you were listening to the show, and I saw you in the chat spitting out numbers and generally confounding our guest. So, what is it that you want to talk about?
Well, the thing is like you're asking the wrong questions and you let him get away with murder. Like you really did. It was disgusting. It was like I love Stu, but it was like listening. Like the only thing that was missing was a PowerPoint presentation. Like, you know, if you had one of those with him, it would have been fucking fantastic, right? Because it would have been a great sales pitch. So I was like, he's saying all the right stuff because he's correct. But the thing is, you were a pussy. James, you look beautiful, so I can't fault you. You know, and you got a great name.
So
but the thing is like,
what areas I should have pressed him, James.
Okay, for example, the CPM stuff. Does it need competition? What Twitch are doing in terms of how they're building out their company? Is it the right way to build it out? The list goes on. I can't remember all of it, but I would have had something to say on each point. So where do you want to start? Ask me something about something.
Okay, well,
if you want.
Yeah, well, what are the particular objections? Where do you think Stu kind of got to wriggle off the hook a little bit? Let's talk about the monetization. I mean, that's always been the motivating factor, as I see it, for someone like yourself, who's been very, clever and specific about how they market themselves and what that appeal is and how they present themselves to the wider community. So let's talk about that, the monetization. You obviously feel Twitch are ripping people off in some way.
No, well, basically, like Twitch offer 3.5 CPM as a standard, right? But everyone knows Own3d were offering 5. So what do you think Twitch were offering? 5. It had to be, okay? So the fact is now to go to 3.5 as the monopoly company, is that a strategy to then be able to do that? Or are they competing with someone like YouTube that can only offer really 2 CPM and that's their main competitor, even though Azubu's around the corner? Of course, 3.5 CPM is still a great deal, Twitch are still a great company, but it's like, it has to be known that when you said, is it bad that Twitch don't have a competitor? Surely some of these knock-on effects are to help strengthen their company. And it's no bad means for a company to actually have more money than the company that you want to represent you, because the healthier they are, the better they can serve you. But then you've got to ask about the infrastructure and how they're building out their company. So for example, Twitch, as we all know, build their own infrastructure out, and they build their own CDNs and, you know, work with ISPs to distribute. They don't necessarily work with Akamai or Level 3, which are the 2 big companies that basically Own3d had to pay, which made them essentially have really big bills. If you don't know, the first ever League of Legends tournament at DreamHack Summer, before LCS even started, cost Own3d.TV 100,000 euros, I think it was, in bandwidth costs that were outside of the cost that Riot were paying to have the tournament run. So, you know, Twitch TV, they're building their company based off we build the infrastructure to allow you to be a streamer, but what they're not doing is, which I think is a huge mistake, is actually signing the content on we also own the content. Okay. Right. So it's kind of like they're going the YouTube route, but they're not going the TV network route. I mean, look at HBO. You pay for HBO, they create shows that are theirs with your money, and the content becomes better. Okay. Right now, for example, okay, you're a talk show, and you're actually a very good talk show. I've turned up.
Thanks.
But the thing is like, you're a talk show, but where on Twitch TV are they looking after promoting you other than you promoting yourself? Who's promoting you from Twitch TV?
Probably is nobody, I imagine, James.
Okay, so we want to make people think here, all right? I've been awake since 1 a.m. and I'm currently meant to be going to sleep because I'm flying to Valencia at 6 a.m. and I haven't slept
tomorrow.
Yet. Yeah. So, for example, Twitch TV, they could have at the top of their website different categories of shows, okay? They could have like, these are tournaments, these are talk shows. Just take 2, for example. Under talk shows, you guys, because you're a regular weekly show, could be considered a talk show that people were able to know that was coming weekly. And you could have an admin panel to say, we are English, these are our show topics. And people on Twitch TV could be like, oh, okay, this is coming up, right? Simple. It's a schedule of the week. Now, the fact that they don't have that is because they're not promoting content properly, and they're not taking control of the content and how the viewers kind of digest it and also want to return to the content. For example, an add-on feature to that, rather than just having the 2 columns of these are tournaments and these are shows, and you can obviously break them down with specific games or hosts or whatever people want to follow, you can have a 3rd column where you can click like, I want to watch this show, this show, this show, this show. And then when it's live, it will tell you, as opposed to just when your stream comes live. So Twitch TV have taken a route where they're like, we are promoting, like, you know, we are just building growth. People promote themselves, so it's a free market, but that doesn't help their viewership, and it doesn't, you know, help necessarily, you know, the kind of return ability to the viewer to the platform, which will generate them more money. The other thing that they don't do, which they should consider, which I also think is a mistake, is actually investment into people's shows.
Okay.
This is a hard one because Twitch TV don't really do sponsorships, which I think is fine, right? Because if you do a sponsorship with one team, you're going to have to do them with everyone. And if you're the only platform, it's going to cost you hundreds, thousands, millions, because, you know, why would you sponsor Team Dignitas and not Fnatic, for example?
Yeah.
But let's say that they actually invest in either people's shows, and they can claim from the shows the rights to, you know, obviously a higher % of the ad revenue, because it's like, we've invested money into you so you can produce a better show, so you have like a more stable income, but you have more money up front. And then the ad revenue is not really your business model, but Twitch are just making sure that you're doing good shows. And it's risk versus reward. How much money do they put in? How much do they take out the other end? But also, let's take another example how Twitch could actually improve the community and the streamers and the content. So it's not known really, but the DreamHack overlay that they use for their StarCraft tournaments was designed and coded in my house in 12 hours. The back-end feature. It's obviously progressed from there, but I took my money, I gave it to an employee of DreamHack who is a contractor for them and contracted for us. He coded some stuff for us, took it back to DreamHack and continued using it based off our initial designs, and then evolved it. Now, let's say that I've put in money to build my own overlay system, right? And my overlay system's pretty good. You know, I've had offers from companies to buy it, but I can't just sell it to them because it's part of my advantage in esports. But what if Twitch TV were like, you know what, this company over here, they know how to push overlays. They work with XSplit. Trance works with XSplit, and a lot of the features that come from XSplit was when Trance was working with them for gaming. And we've done overlays that get used across pretty premier tournaments. You know, it's a product of what DreamHack has become, but also we use them for Valve and other such products. What if Twitch actually invested in my company and said, could you make your overlay and then we'll pay you to make it, and then what we do is we make it accessible for everybody out there to have the back-end system, so they just have to create their own graphics, and everyone can have an overlay system that is higher quality and professional. And maybe there's a contract in there that the more people that use it, I get a tiny percent as a company of ad revenue from their stream because they've chosen to up their production value, you know, with the help of Twitch TV. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I know what you mean. I guess the first kind of mild criticism of what you're saying here would be, it's almost as if you expect Twitch to be some sort of benevolent startup company.
It's not a startup company. It's like there's people that have been around long enough on Twitch TV that you can see trends in who's doing what and who's pushing the industry forward in different ways. We all know the talk shows, right?
Yeah.
But how do you find them? Like your show had 69 viewers, and you had
great number.
But you had the head of Twitch TV Europe on Twitch TV's fucking website that turns over 30 million, you know, unique viewers a month or something, and a host that's been in esports for a long time, and James, who's got lovely hair.
Yes, he has, and a lovely face.
And you've got 69 viewers.
Isn't the issue there with the community rather than, you know, like, do Twitch have kind of an obligation to force certain types of content on the people that use their service? And if they do that, then we get into a conversation. Yeah, exactly. Then we get into a conversation about preferences and favoritism.
Yeah, but the thing is, they already do, because if you go onto the front page of Twitch, the people that are on the front page have a higher kind of priority, which are like GameSpot and partners like that. And they get on front page of Twitch. Like, for example, Smite. Have you ever seen the Smite stream?
Yeah.
Right? It's fucking bollocks, right? So basically, Smite, because they're a game developer, get access to be like important or more important than other people. But they abuse that fact because Smite, they've decided to have all their employees play Smite on rotation, so there's almost a 24-hour stream of people just playing Smite on a fucking webcam. But it gets high priority because it's a game publisher, and a game publisher is considered, you know, premier content because they should put out premier content, even though they don't really. Paradox put out some premier content, but Smite is just like, why am I watching this random chick play Smite? But because they're always front page, you know, they get higher priority already. The thing is, with a system where you actually have the ability to click and choose what you're interested and not interested in, you can actually, on your front page and on your kind of notification of what you want to watch, similar to a TV guide or Sky box, you can get what you want. But no one's organizing the content. Twitch are not ignoring, but there's so much focus on the company infrastructure and you know, providing this, everyone can use it for free, instead of actually pushing stuff forward in terms of helping the community become better. Because essentially it's going to help them, right? It's like, if your shows are really kick-ass and you get a lot of viewers and they look great, that's where advertisers want to be.
But haven't you yourself took advantage of the way Twitch is currently? So, I mean, is this argument not, I'm not saying it is hypocritical, but are we not veering towards it? Because, I mean, it seems like, well, for example, I mean, you've used Twitch, haven't you? For your shows? Okay, right. So okay. So I
Is this
mean,
correct?
yeah, and you've used Twitch employees to promote that show, yes?
Which ones? Trance?
Kind of, and like
Is
knowing OP probably helps as well a little bit, right?
I think Trance is my business partner first, who is contracted to Twitch,
Hmm.
and OP not so much. So we have the same as like we're one of the premium content users,
Hmm.
but we weren't from the get
And
go.
okay, and you used to work for Twitch, so I'm guessing you have a lot of relationships, some good, some bad, undoubtedly, with
Yes.
people in Twitch. So, I mean, am I supposed to believe then that you haven't taken advantage at any
So are
point?
you saying that people turn up and watch my shows because I take advantage of Twitch employees as opposed to my shows being good?
No.
Because that's where it sounded like it was going.
No. But I mean, isn't there a kind of they're not mutually exclusive, are they? I mean, ultimately, you must have benefited from these relationships on some level, even if it was just at the beginning, so people have access to your
The
material.
best relationship with Twitch I had was they paid me money to get them into Europe, and I put 20,000 euros and built a studio because I could.
Hmm.
And then, as far as promotion goes, we promoted ourselves, but also we made sure our content was premium because we knew that the premium content that they wanted would get promoted on blogs and stuff. So we got promoted on blogs for some of our tournaments.
Mm.
But the thing is I was able to do premium content because I put down premium money. But what if you can't put down premium money to create overlays, build a studio, move 5 people into a house, and make shows?
Mm. Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying any of your points are invalid. However, you're somebody that's known how to. You've always been somebody that's known how to use all of the tools at your disposal to the best, for the best outcome for yourself. Which isn't to say that you're a selfish asshole. That is to say that you're very good within the esports industry because that's what you need. And somebody like myself who's burnt bridges, you've always seemed to have at least
You
another
don't seem
road
to
out.
burn. I think I burned more bridges than you.
I think that might be true now because I think everyone's just accepted fundamentally I am an asshole,
Yeah.
and
But where are you getting at? Like, what are you saying? Like, what is your underlining message?
right.
Because
The underlining message would be you seem overly critical of the way Twitch works, yet the way Twitch works seems to have worked in such a way that has been beneficial for you specifically, given the way you have wanted to do business for your persona.
Yeah.
And so,
but I had the resources to make it work for me.
okay, so now you're in a position where it's easy to criticize Twitch from that lofty perch, molding it and trying to shape it to the way you think it should be. Do you have that kind of big? Are you detached enough from where you are currently to be able to be making suggestions
Well,
that are for the benefit of the wider esports community, rather than just people like yourself?
I'm watching your show, which, as I said, is a good show.
Yeah, I know.
And it had
It's
70 viewers.
Mhm.
So the thing is like, I don't do much work because if I did, I wouldn't be doing my job properly.
Mm.
And I have time to actually watch a lot of what people do. Whether it be Keo, the young Dota 2 lady twerking on stream, your talk show, with Stuart, or, even some of LCS's stuff. I make sure I watch everything. But the thing is, I can clearly see a divide where Twitch could actually bridge the gap and help more people gain more viewership with changing their philosophy of how they build out their company and not just hiring people on tech roles and actually kind of community development roles, and put some resources into the community that don't necessarily have to be sponsorship money, but actually tools where they can work better as and get more out of their time. That is a benefit to Twitch because the risk versus the reward, the money they have to put down in development time or either developing the tools, will return essentially an ad revenue, but they're not doing it. And it's something that should have been done a long time ago.
I mean, I guess my counterpoint to that is I don't know if I feel like you that necessarily that responsibility lies with Twitch. It'd be a lovely bonus. I'd love to be, addressing, 3,000 people right now and have them all engaged and give a shit about what we're trying to do with the show, which is to be a bit more hard hitting than, the alleged no fluff shows that are out there, which are pretty much entirely fluff. And, there's only really yourself. And a few others, like Chris, Chanman, I think does some pretty hard hitting topics as well on his show. But there aren't many. There aren't many that actually talk about the industry in very honest terms. A lot of it is just bullshit, smoke and mirrors, and how can we placate e.g. sponsors this week. So, but I don't feel that responsibility necessarily lies with Twitch to put us front and center. And esports for me has never been a meritocracy.
You are their client. Like, essentially, if I go to a bank and I say, what can you do with my money? If one bank says, we can put it in a box and then you can take it out, do with it what you will. And then another bank says, oh, you can have all these options and we can help you with your money the best we can and provide more than just a deposit box, then I'm going to go with that bank. That's what Twitch is that's the kind of decision I feel that Twitch is at, because currently Twitch is like, we are a platform, you can put your content out there. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
But what if we are a platform, you can put your content out there and we can work with you to make it grow alongside what they already do, which is making sure that box is secure, because that's what they're essentially working on primarily. It's this, the Swedish data center has just gone up, and it's not a full capacity yet. So, hopefully that kicks in. They're going to Amsterdam next, so they're doing everything they promised. And as I said, they're a great company from the tech side of it. But it's like, you have to think kind of television a little bit more. And you have to be working with these people. I mean, OP is a great example. On Own3d TV, OP wasn't tech. He was in charge of developing the streamers and was actually giving them ideas of things they can do on their stream, how to promote themselves, how to, do this kind of, grow as a personality and also a streamer. When he came to Twitch TV, he's tech support, even though on Own3d he was something else.
So, I mean, I guess the next question, right, based on what you know about Twitch, and obviously if you'd raised these points while Stu was on air, I'd probably have asked him the same thing. I mean, because what you're talking about is a huge investment of time and resources, no doubt about it. And people are suggesting, they should have all these facilities and they should have this button and this menu system and this, that, and the other. So, do you believe Twitch could actually implement these things, that they're profitable enough to just start doing these things tomorrow and they're electing not to? Or is there an argument to say that what you're requesting is kind of an unreasonable, we want it all, typical esports kind of thing?
No, I think it's definitely doable, but I think it's a case of company philosophy. So, for example, I'm pretty sure that Twitch over its course of growth have been profitable some months, unprofitable others. I think they've had I'm not sure the exact number, maybe 25 million in investment. I'm sure ad revenue for a company that turns over this many kind of viewers could anywhere between I'd be guessing on this, but I'm sure even last year they were probably making over $1 million a month in ads. This year, who knows what it's at, because it's grown hugely. And also Twitch TV are focusing on building out their own sales team, which is a good thing, because it looks like they want to stay around and be a force to be reckoned with and actually a profitable company running forward. So they're doing the right thing on the engineering side and the company infrastructure, but I think they can do the other side, which I feel is hugely important. Why, look at what, for example, Machinima, even though we hate them, do actually have a deal with YouTube, right, and Google. They get money to focus on the gaming side of YouTube, and they do contracts because of it. So it's kind of where is, what's Twitch doing? And I think it's sure, I understand your concern it opens a kind of Pandora's box of the unknowing, It's which way is it going to go? Which partners are we going to help? Which partners might getting pissed off? But yeah, it's something that they need to do. Because I said on my show, right? I said on my show, I was like, okay, for example, YouTube Live. It's a fantastic service. It doesn't lag, but it doesn't have chat. How do you do chat? Well, it's pretty simple. You go to IRC, you contact the people at QuakeNet, Sorcerer, and Pumpkin, and you say, hey, we want to, can you host our QuakeNet server for this website? And, you know, we're going to code on top of it to make it look like Twitch chat. And then they're like, yeah, cool, that sounds fun. More traffic to us. You know, you pay for it a little bit. And then you've got YouTube Live, and then you've got Twitch chat. Oh, you need subscription buttons. Or let's add PayPal in there. That's good. You can subscribe on PayPal. Okay, now we need to actually get this content kind of organized. Let's add the schedules. Let's add the ability to have, like, you know, the Sky One box of things that you want to watch, and that drawback and the kind of customizable features that will help retain viewers and bring them back to shows that hopefully they either enjoy or new shows that they can find. And the whole time that you're doing this with YouTube Live, you're thinking to yourself, well, wait a minute, I don't have to build a CDN worth millions. YouTube Live are delivering my content. YouTube Live obviously have to have the ability to distribute ads between the broadcast, because that's currently what they don't have. You can't run mid-roll ads on YouTube Live. But that's like, Google can fix that. You've got IRC chat, you've got a PayPal subscription, you've got icons in there. People are making $2 CPM, which is admittedly less than 3.5 that you would get from Twitch, but the volume of ad sales should be higher. And then you've got the ability to customize the website for the user experience and also promote the people that you think could be promoted well. And if you have a YouTube network and they're actually they come under YouTube Live under your YouTube network, you get a pretty good deal if you sign up with someone that sells the ads directly rather than just Google. And then you can invest money into these people to create better content. And essentially, you've remade Twitch without any of the money needed to keep the company sustainable.
So just before, Stu's actually messaged me and said he'd like to come on and discuss some of your points with you on air. So I'm guessing that's going to be awesome. Yeah. But before we move to that, one of the points I do want to make is, and you know, I know you well, James. I like you. I've known you many years, so don't take this the wrong way. But weren't you in a position, having had a job at Twitch, to be able to deliver some of the stuff you're talking about now? Like, it seems to me like you've almost kind of got yourself in a position where you actually can't implement change, and that's when you start talking about the changes. I don't recall you chirping about any of this when you were actually employed by Twitch.
It's more the fact that I gave him feedback probably a year and a half ago, and it was like, yeah. And then nothing much changes on the client side of stuff. And, you know, the information I have about Twitch, sure, it's a lot more than, you know, the average streamer, but it's nothing that's like scary or hidden. It's, they build the infrastructure, they work on the tech side of the company, they're a good company, they offer CPM, they pay people. But what's next? You know, you asked Stuart where Twitch is going. You know, it's like, what's next?
What is
so
next?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see if he's got anything more to say. We're just going to drag him back in.
And I wanted to come on in his segment and talk to him about some of the stuff he said, but like, I wasn't that rude, so I'm happy he's coming to my segment.
Your segment was unplanned, James. Your segment was unplanned. So
yeah. How are you doing, James? You doing all right?
Yep, he's muted himself. Yeah, I think we're actually getting rid of beautiful James.
Yeah, you're getting rid of me because I think Stu can probably give you a lot more insight than I can into this subject. So.
And I'm really sorry, James. This always happens to you. We're always the make way.
That's okay. I don't mind. It's fine.
It's terrible, man. I treat you like shit. I'm really sorry.
It's cool. I'll see you soon.
Maybe we'll bring you back in at the end. We'll see. We'll see how this goes.
And you asked me the question: did I get Stu the job at Twitch TV? Indirectly, I probably did, but that's mainly because I wasn't doing much work. And for about 6 months. So
that's not like you, James.
They
right.
Probably needed someone to do work. So indirectly.
We're just sorting the windows out. Do I need to kick James from the chat? Is that what I need to do?
Oh, poor James. He was the star of the show.
Yeah. How do I even do that? There we go. Right. I'm such an idiot. Okay, cool. So come on, Gareth. You're a producer. I'm looking at some horrific. There we go. That's brilliant. So there you go. We've given you the little window, Stu. Not a reflection on what we think about you or the fact James brought on loads more viewers than you. You want you want to respond to Too Good, so I'm just going to let you guys have at it. Respond.
Come on, James. Come on. That's all I can really say. It's like the practicality of everything you're asking to be done just isn't real. I mean, I get that, that there's a lot
kidding
of
me?
things that could be done. But
what's not real?
Okay, so first of all, you're suggesting let's build this. Which one do we want to go for first? You're suggesting that Twitch, who for every esports team have a Razer or SteelSeries logo on their arm, have a Twitch logo on their arm as well.
No. They said they don't sponsor teams, and I said they can't because it would open up a floodgate. Because if you sponsor one, you have to sponsor another. You partner with teams and offer them a service. Okay. And those kind of streamers are already professional gamers, and when they stream, anybody getting like 2,000 viewers plus and wants to stream regularly will earn a decent living from Twitch TV. Not asking for that. So, next point, Stuart, if you may.
So you're saying that Twitch hasn't worked to develop streamers, and it should do more to develop streamers. So let's take an example of a Phantom Lord, who's my favorite go-to example, who works with a number of the Twitch employees on how to, optimize his stream to grow his audience, and has grown now to be a 20,000 concurrent streamer.
But these streamers that you're talking about, all right, are streamers that use webcam and use stream. For this kind of content, this content is it's kind of like your bread and butter content on Twitch TV, right? It's like it's a streamer playing a game. He's either funny, maybe not, maybe he's a girl, or maybe he's great at the game, maybe he plays League of Legends or Dota 2. These are the bread and butter. In terms of where they are, they're not doing shows, all right? They're not doing high-level content with like discussions, etc. They are providing what they provide, and the services and tools that they already have are very acceptable to what they do. The things that have been promoted to them is subscription buttons with things in chat. But tell me about Phantom Lord, but this is not the concern of the content that you're trying to pull people back on, because you want shows. You want.
Okay, so you're the perfect example. Then let's go straight to you. Your audience grew and grew and grew through work you did with your own brand and so forth. That's the example of how this has to work. You can't mother everyone. You have to hopefully get them growing, and offer them insight, access to your staff who have knowledge, and the staff regularly share knowledge with their streamers on this is how you can optimize your stream for this. This works well. This doesn't work well, and every one of the staff does that. And then at a certain point, when they reach, once they hit a certain level, they naturally get promoted. Promotion is a natural part of what happens. You've been on the front page. Chanman V's been on the front page. Rich hasn't been on the front page, but his shows. This is episode 6 of his show, and he's been on a couple of weeks hiatus because go on. Who screwed you over, Rich? Who didn't show up on your show?
Loads of people, but Sundance is the recurrent guy. But MLG have been busy. Busy's the nice way of putting it.
All right. So the thing is, that's a very nice natural progression, but it's also slow, and it could be sped up by some nice, simple changes to the website. For example, where is the talk show tab on Twitch TV? Like, what is this? What is this listed under on Twitch TV right now? What are we watching?
Yeah. Oh, and you can go in and you can probably find 100 things that you'll think they could change this and this would be better. They could change this, but it's all about prioritization. On you can fix this or you can fix this. There's only enough man hours in the day. There's only enough engineers, and some things get fixed on a priority level that you might disagree with. But it's all no one rests on their laurels and says we're just going to ignore this fact for forever. There are always like updates and upgrades coming in. On a regular basis. Some small, you've just seen the profile page has been updated last week. There's a variety of things that go up and get upgraded on a regular basis. Come on, you know how once a company hits more than just 5 people, you can't just say today I'm going to do this, tomorrow I'm going to do that.
The company's at 75 people, isn't it?
Right, I'm saying when you're 5 people, you can be mobile and agile and you can get to anything. Once you get to a certain size, you have to work within certain frame structures. You know this.
Okay, so from the 75 people, how many engineers?
The vast majority, but you've got to look at where those, the way the engineering is structured, because when you have your own infrastructure, you have all these things. that you have to look out for when you run your own payment solutions, all of these things.
So the net dev team, apart from, you know, Gunrun, who helps make sure your stream works, you got Fishsticks, who's in chat that handles partnerships. You know, who's working on progressing the streamers and the content that is on your website? Like, who's in charge of that job? Who's creative director of stream content at Twitch TV, if that's a title?
So you want a creative person. You want someone who's, you know, responsible for content.
Well, the funny thing is, but the funny thing is, it's like Twitch TV could invest money into an overlay system, and then provide it to the streamers. So, like, everybody, the whole of Twitch TV could have my overlay system. All right, and with my overlay system, holy shit, they can do nice looking shows. Only I can use my overlay system because I paid for it. Because Twitch, you know, it's like, isn't that a good use of money and resources, that you can pay for one product that Twitch develop, and then everyone can use it? Like, you know, does that not sound like it could be helpful?
Yeah, that sounds very helpful. Sounds like there are a lot of things like that for example, Zambot, MoveBot, for example, where, you know, if you need moderation in your chat, Twitch recommends, oh, go to this chat and get this bot added to your thing. There are always new tools and innovations that come along to support the streamers, and that's why Twitch works closely with OBS, with XSplit, with a variety of companies to try and do that. You're always going to find one. You're always going to find something that, you know, this is the one that you...
But the thing is like, I'm saying that's one example, but like, if you're saying that lots of things are getting improved in this direction as well as the other direction of engineers, like, you know, who's actually in charge of this? And don't lie, because Munchkin will fucking kill you.
Who's in charge of, you know, within every area there are, you know, you have people who are in charge of various bits. You knew this more than anyone on the stream. You know who's in charge of which section because you were at Twitch for 12, 18 months.
Well, kind of. But there's no one in charge of that. There's no one. Like, where is it? Like Jacob's in charge of the website. And Jacob's mental. Isn't he, Munchkin? Yes. But, like, you know, come on, like, who, like, what department is that? There isn't a department for that. There's a net dev, and that's the closest thing to the community and community management. And those people sign you up, and, you know, they help you because they're like, you been paid? Any problems? No, fucking cool. But who's developing the community from Twitch TV? And why is it not Twitch TV's job when it's the platform that everyone's using?
So you're saying that, for example, someone like Fishsticks or DJ Wheat has done nothing in the StarCraft community to help that grow into a massive streaming
Yeah,
community?
they have, but it's not been their job role, and it's been one-offs. Like, for example, when I was at Twitch TV, I helped BTS and I spec'd out their whole studio. But the thing is like, why isn't Twitch TV interested in speccing out different setups for studios so people can go to Twitch TV and be like, you know what, we're going to make a studio. We have no fucking idea what we're doing, but we have the money to do it. We don't know who Trance is, who does our studio. Gunrun's okay. I'm sure he would like find it, but there's like our studio works, and our studio is a budget studio. Like BTS, the fucked up thing is like BTS went to NASL to talk about Dota 2, and they were like, yeah, we want to do Dota 2. And then like NASL was like, well, let's see what you want to do in terms of equipment. And then NASL were like, nah, that's going to be shit. You should just come do it at our studio. And then they came to me and I was like, yeah, you can build a studio for like 20 grand. And then they did a Kickstarter and they built a studio. Then they hosted the Valve tournament, and, you know, it worked. But why couldn't that be Twitch's responsibility to make that kind of public knowledge, and also their interest to actually have someone working on building like a studio and making sure that they find products that don't have conflicts, they find, you know, what's happening, and then they help the streamers get from where they are to where they want to be at a very cost efficient way, because you're serving multiple people as opposed to on an individual basis. I mean, Toby-Wan Kenobi's messaging me now. He's asked for our studio setup, but
right,
you know, it's like if I give it to him.
So the answer is yes, but what I would challenge you is to find a way to do this on a scalable method. So, for example, there are a number of people who have built studios who've been able to get in contact with Trance, with DJ Weeks, with Gunrun, and get that information. But how do you make that in a
scalable.
way
Oh,
that
it's so
suits
difficult.
the
So
view.
what I would do is I'd employ a certain amount of people that are very good at what they do within the industry and be like, we want to push the industry and people's content forward. We want to make sure that everyone knows how overlays work. We want to know, like, they know how to set up their studios. We want them to be educated on products. We're going to pay these like 5 people and invest in them so that they do work for us, and that work becomes public kind of Twitch TV knowledge and is also part of our program.
Like a
So
gun run knowledge bomb.
yes, but the thing is, you hire 5 people, you've solved the problem. Like, and the thing is, you don't even have to hire 5 people. The funny thing is, if Twitch TV exclusively, like when they contracted me, if they said to me, we're going to give you this money, but we also, like, they didn't know we were going to do like either good stuff or whatever. If they said, hey, and we're also going to give you 100,000 euro into your company, I could have 5 people work on products that actually went back into the whole community, because that 100,000 would be like 5 people employed on a daily basis, or at least, 3-4 days a week, and then they do shows for me on the evening. I'm not saying they should give me the money, but the fact is, it's like you can help the community that way. Internally, in terms of website and features, that's within the website development team. But, so the thing is, it's so easy, Stu. I don't understand why you think hiring 5 people to help the community grow is a tough thing, because you can do it on a large scale.
I mean, hiring 5 people not being a tough thing, that I would kind of disagree with, just in its own entity of a statement. Just because, if it were that easy to hire 5 people, then everyone would do it. Then you look at the size of failed streaming businesses and the total amount of staff that they were ever able to accrue. Staff headcount costs money.
So I wanted to hire 5 people to make a studio and make overlays, and I did.
Yeah, but you also said that you put up 20,000 euros of your own money to do that.
Yeah, but the thing is, I put up 20,000 euros, and I'm the only person that has the studio with the overlays, with all the knowledge, with all the good people. Why didn't Twitch invest in that and then distribute it to everybody to make the content better? I mean, I fail to see.
I mean, you could also look at, there are a number of YouTube studios all around the world that actually are sparsely used. Like, the top YouTube networks don't use the YouTube studios that are on offer regularly, simply because...
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like now it's a proof of concept. It's like people know, okay, this Skype show, the thing that it misses and what people love about Twitch is just live content. When you design shows and you design them if they're going to be in a studio together or on Skype, you're going to get a lot more success when you go to a studio. Of course, the studio part in terms of finances to get to the studio, that's on the business itself. But building the studio and having the overlay system and the ability to do it that way could actually come down to a Twitch responsibility. But also my overlay system could be used for this stream here. And we were the first people on Twitch TV to do polls live in the UI that reported to chat. We were also the first people to work around XSplit's green screen problem. So we could actually use I can't even remember what it was called now because I'm not the tech guy, but the overlay system that we wanted with XSplit, we were the first people to work that because we had Trance able to work with XSplit and they coded some stuff for us. Then we told them what to do and then they did it and then we had it and then it worked. You know what I mean? So we have the ability to have like the overlay system we have. You could bring in 400,000 euros of TV studio equipment and it would do the same thing. But, it's just, there's so much that Twitch could do to kind of progress the community, look after the content, promote the content in the right way. And at some point, they have to decide, it's like, are they going to stay the YouTube route where they just basically, everything's free for all? Grown-up cat. Are they going to have the YouTube route where everything's kind of free for all, or are they going to take control of their content kind of like TV?
Well, just before I'll let Stu answer that, I will say it's been going on for some time now, guys. If this was a presidential debate, we'd need to get to the summation stage. So I'll let Stu answer. Then what I want is final points, and then we'll close out the show.
I guess I'll put my answer into a final point, and that'll give James the last word, which which he'll enjoy. I would say that you shouldn't have such a short memory as to all the things that Twitch continues and has long done for the esports community, and never stops doing, never stops looking to constantly innovate and constantly support. And there are numerous examples.
Could you give me some examples of how they support it? I just want to know for the public, because like your statement is a bit fluffy to the point, like, we have done things to support you. Sounds very presidential. But specifically, what has Twitch specifically done just so that the community that are watching now can relate to what you're saying? Because I know they have, but I want to hear something.
That is because the reason it's difficult to outline that in specifics is because if you look at it, the one thing that you never want to go and reveal publicly is cash. So you can't turn around and say, we supported this tournament with X cash prize purse, because that's a private deal between two companies. And if you look throughout all of Twitch's history, it's littered with areas in which it's helped communities grow, in which it's helped communities and streamers grow through supporting them, through putting them in contact with third-party companies to then support them, and so on. So it's done a huge amount on a level of developing the business side of esports. You're correct. Really good. There's always more ways. There's product ways. There's a bit more community ways that you can get there. But
so essentially, you're saying that Twitch TV does support growth in terms of the content creation, and it does give people money, but it just doesn't tell people who gets the money. But some of them do get it, and some of them don't.
No. You honestly. So okay, James. Another way. Are you going to tell the world exactly what your sponsors do for the Good Studio and open up their contracts?
AMD gave us $68,000 a year, which we used half of it in prize money for the arena. QPad sponsored the Good Studio for 24,000 euros a year, and we used that all on the shows. Each person working on the Learn to Play series for QPad got 500 euros a month. What else was there? That's AMD, Sapphire. And Asus provided us with PCs, and also they gave us opportunities to do things like Asus ROG, which averaged about $25,000 an event, apart from the Asus ROG Home Cup, which we did $16,000 because we were really nice. And we actually used $10,000 in prize money and $6,000 in what we did. And, it was really good. And when I worked for Twitch TV, I was receiving 60,000 euro a year salary, which I put most of that into the studio to build it. So it was, it's pretty easy. How are you doing?
I'm bemused, but I'll give you that one, James. I didn't think you would, because that's not common practice. It is. You call. It's just not. I was not expecting you to do that. So I'll give you that one. If you want to divulge all of that information, so be it. I agree with your logic that there are always ways to improve, and you've been able to pick out some points that are there to improve upon that do not fall on deaf ears. So
yeah, no, I have no doubt that like understandably, right? I'm not banging on Twitch. Twitch are like the nicest people. The engineers play Dota 2. I love them. The net dev team play League of Legends. I'm undecided. But the point is like, I know Twitch TV are always going to push the industry forward in terms of tech and making sure stuff goes along. But I'm asking you the question, to stay on top of this industry, to stop YouTube coming in and Azubu coming in, shouldn't they take more care of how good the content is, and can they help the content reach a higher level? And I think it's an easy yes. You say it's hard to do, but they're still doing other stuff. Then that's pretty much the end of the discussion, I guess.
Cool.
But, well, I'm glad I sat back and had a little involvement in that one. Stu, thanks for coming back on. James, always a pleasure to get your thoughts.
Well, I'm a little bit annoyed because I've got to negotiate with Stu my CPM for the Good Studio shortly and sign over. So I think I'm going to get a really fucking shit one now.
That might just be the case, brother. But what? Just while you're here, James, come on. What the fuck's going on with you and the studio and everything else? You since we're all in the spirit of transparency and everything. What's going on?
The thing is, it would be transparent if it was me, but I'm working with a partner, and the partner is basically it's their business essentially. So what I've done is I've made sure the studio runs with very little effort from me and has an increase of content value and production that frees me up to work on Reborn. To do that, I either had to sell the company, the Good Studio, or partner with somebody. I was actually going to sell it. I decided not to sell it, and then we decided to partner with somebody, and we are basically offline until the next stage of the Good Studio comes back. And I'm looking forward to it. And, once I get things signed contract-wise, I'll tell people.
But we know some of the talent's not going to be there with you, James. So, because they've gone to other places. So, are you going to bring in? Are you going to bring in any new celebs to film?
Yes, there is. The only person who has left and is leaving is Apollo, because he's gone to ESL. Mike didn't want to live in Sweden, went to Canada, and then was like, spoke to him, and he's like, because he was on holiday, and he was like, he wanted a job in America, and we tried to look out if we could do anything for him there. And then we were like, Mike was like, I think he's like, Sweden, give it a go again. And then we're actually bringing in one more person, definitely. And the studio won't be at the house.
Disappointed not to be approached. I'm not going to lie to you. So,
If you want, I can talk to you afterwards and we can write some stuff down, because I'm in the phase of now until September of writing the new shows for the Good Studio, and basically going on a sponsorship selling spree.
Okay, well, I'm just kidding around, but I know you're a big admirer of Duffer.
If I write a show and put you in it and it gets sold, will you turn up to Sweden? And will you leave behind?
You know that I was disappointed when I came to the studio and we didn't do anything except play poker, which Trance fucking rinsed everyone at when he didn't even know how to play. So that was fucking bullshit. But I really wanted to do to get on air with you, man. But everything had been packed away, hadn't it?
Yeah. And I do apologize if I didn't think I upset Stuart at all, and I'm quite hard to argue.
That was nothing compared to Thorin Slasher, bro. So that was actually quite similar.
But the thing is like Stuart is right, but the thing is I'm more specifically about where to go now, what would help the community and the growth of esports the most now, and it's kind of like what my career has been about. It's like when I was a player, I was like, well, I'm just looking after myself. Why don't I become a team manager and look after other people? That will help them. I did. Then I became a general manager, looked after a team which looked after multiple teams. And I was like, well, maybe I can bring more exposure to esports by commentating because I'm pretty good at it. ESL. Let's see if I can take control of a game and input like tournament systems that can help develop the community. Bloodline Champions. Okay, let's go back to studio again and do it myself with my own style of content. And I think the Good Studio has made people think about how to do content. We've pushed the limits on entertainment and other stuff, and maybe dick jokes or just similar jokes, which same thing. And now I'm trying to make a game again to show people that if you can actually run the game with an esport angle to be niche rather than hugely successful like League of Legends, it can still give growth to esports in the right way. I mean, it's like once I've done that and it's worked out okay, what am I going to do? Start my own Twitch TV with schedules and promotion?
Is the thing, James, I just wish you had the fucking longevity and the attention span to finish your shit, man.
Yeah, but that's why I surround myself with people that are very good. Other stuff I'm shit at.
Yeah, I know what it's like. I'm kind of same. I'm an ideas man. I rarely see shit through, but it would be awesome if you could finish some stuff. I'm not going to bore you with asking you a Reborn question, but what I will say is, I mean, can you confirm, like the word on the street, James, is that when the Good Studio does kind of relaunch in inverted commas, you might not be as active. Can you confirm or deny?
I will be just as active on shows.
Okay.
Yeah. But basically with Reborn, I had a nightmare. I asked for lots of money, like €700,000. I got a 9-month conversation where I didn't get the money. I got offered £250,000 for 80% of my company. That was shitty. And then I asked for £300,000 for some other dudes. They were like, "You're mental, but talk to us in the full once you've done more game development." And so I figured out a way with the partnership and with the people at the house and how we set up the company that Reborn actually will have enough financing to get it through a whole year, as opposed to the kind of staggered development we've been in, which is important. And we're planning on actually talking to the community about it in September when we start the studio, just because the only reason I haven't been able to talk to the community is basically because the investors were like, "Don't say this, don't say that." But now I don't work with any investors. So, yeah. So I'm really happy with where Reborn's going, and we're
Someone in chat suggested you should go on Dragon's Den. That's something I would want to see.
I think like Dragon's Den would be like, they asked for like £50,000. What the fuck am I going to do for
It felt like we were a bit like Dragon's Den, because I thought James was really pushing the Twitch "please buy my overlay" thing earlier.
No, but that was like an example of what you could. Like
or a shameless sales pitch.
If Twitch was smart, when they hired me, they would have actually been like, any work you do is property of Twitch TV kind of thing under the contract. And then if I made an overlay system, they could have said, "Oh, that's ours. Let's give it to everybody." You know, it's you know, they could have saw the opportunities of this studio does really well, and you know, we give them money. Let's further this progression and give it to other people. It's so simple. It's not difficult.
Okay, well, look, James, I know you need to get some sleep. I'm looking forward to catching up with you tomorrow and having a beer with you, I'm sure, at some point. Because, do you know what? I thought this last time, and I didn't get a chance to say it to you, but I know you've become sensible. You know? Like, I noticed the Twitch after party, I think it was, at the last DreamHack. You're really sensible and mature these days. Was I
walking?
Dude, it was seriously. You were like, whenever I took like the time I spent at the house, I was actually surprised. I mean, apart from the entourage thing, which was hilarious.
I can't wait to read your article on the Good Studio.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you put in there, I'm going to take it and just add more stupid lies and shit like that.
I know, because this is the thing. It's like you've become this myth. And the reality, once upon a time, the myth was the reality, and now the myth is what obfuscates the reality.
The only reason I have
James.
The only reason I have an entourage, right, is because I can't look after myself. Like, people feed me here, and
I noticed that
my laundry gets done. You know, like, while I was here, someone's taken my laundry and put it into the dryer because they know I need my clothes for tomorrow morning when I fly to Spain. I don't have an alarm clock, so Scriff's going to wake me up at 6 a.m.
One day, you're not going to have young, impressionable esports guys to exploit, and you'll have to do all this shit yourself.
I will have an Asian wife.
Well, good. I look forward to attending the wedding. Anyway, brother,
his name will be Phil.
I look forward to seeing you. Thanks a lot for coming on. I'm going to wrap up the show now, so I'll let you dash. Thanks for tripling, quadrupling our figures, James.
Yeah, make sure you guys don't come back to the show unless I'm on it. You know, just want to say that,
what, like, you wouldn't want to come back. Don't do that.
People on Twitch TV are out there by themselves in the void. Don't follow it. You know, it's a nice way to get notified when they're on, but they do all kinds of silly content. I'm not even sure what this show is about. But, you know, like, the fact is, if you see them on the front page, Twitch TV will know they're doing okay because they'll be up there. So until they're up on the front page, fuck off.
Okay, we'll work on that. We'll work on that.
Thanks a lot, brother. Have a good night.
Cool.
And there we go, and he's out, and just like that. So let's wrap up the show. James, you barely got to speak during all of that. I barely got to speak during some of that. How fucking rare is that? So I understand you've got some Streamgasm stuff to bring to our attention.
Yes, we were at Gfinity last weekend. It's a lot less serious than the kinds of things that was going on in the chat and in the conversation just then. But yeah, we were joined by yourself as well, Richard, weren't we? We were there watching some games, some League of Legends and some Black Ops 2. And yeah, we released a video today on the Streamgasm YouTube channel, so we're going to put that on for you in a moment for you to watch. And if you want to see more of the same kind of things, if you enjoy it, then that's cool, and you can go over to the YouTube channel and see more of it, and there'll be more coming up soon as well from the Gfinity event in London. It was pretty impressive, Rich. I thought.
Oh yeah, I mean Gfinity was great. I had a real good time there. I particularly liked the smoked salmon bagels because fuck esports when there's a buffet on.
I preferred my favourite was the brie and cheese, brie and grape, brie and grape
sandwiches. That's how we were living down in Gfinity in London during a heat wave. It was actually quite nice. I particularly like going to that pub for a pint and being told as they poured it, you've got 10 minutes to drink it. P.S. You can't go outside. Stand by this blazing open fire while it's hot inside. That was ridiculous. So,
we're all down the drinks. We're all about to be finished, and we're like, "It's all right, guys. You got 10 minutes left, yeah? Yeah, you can stay for another 10 if you want." Oh, cheers! Thanks for letting us know. Now, nice one.
But yeah, so look, the Streamgasm guys did great work. Check out their vids; they're going to be played probably shortly after this. But just before you all go, I know loads of people are like saying great show tonight, and I'm glad that we had people turn up to watch it in the end. And we got to thank Too Good. Yeah, we love trading on his name, but we know our show's good and we know it stands the quality test in terms of being different to all the other shows out there. With that in mind, we're going to be doing something very different. It's going to air in 2 weeks, I think. We're going to start our very own esports phone-in. It's going to be an esports chat phone-in where we're aiming to make it like Reddit, but basically a streaming show. And how that's going to be is I'm going to be, no doubt, copying Too Good and drinking whiskey and getting drunk on air while you call in and tell us what's on your mind about the big esports issues. It's going to be called Trash Talk. If you listen to this right now and you think that you might want to call in, and you know what? Why should it just be the personalities in esports that get all the attention? Please do. I'm hoping it's going to be absolutely awesome. It might be fucking dog shit and we might take it off after a few episodes. Who knows? But we're going to give it a try because I think it's something that esports needs. So please support that if you can. It'll be called Trash Talk. It'll be airing in 2 weeks. I'll be the host. And James, we may still have him in there looking beautiful at some point. Or maybe not. We don't know.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. I haven't made the overlay for that, so I'll have to.
That's all right. I guess you're always welcome to turn up. The offer's there.
No,
but to everyone who tuned in tonight, thanks very much. We are hoping to air another one of these shows next week, where we've got. I mean, I never like to commit to the guests, so I'm hoping it's going to be someone good. Maybe we can get Sundance to stop dodging us. I'd love to get him on to pick his brains about MLG and the changes they're going through at the moment. If that doesn't happen, we've got a very good backup plan. We are indeed hoping for maybe something to do with League of Legends, maybe something to do with Riot. Let's see if that transpires. But we'll definitely air something next Wednesday, come hell or high water. Right, so just to wrap it up, thanks to the Streamgasm boys for hosting the show. That's James and Gareth. Thank to Stuart, a.k.a. Tosspot, for coming on and having a lovely argument with Too Good, who came on as a surprise guest, as he likes to do. Thanks to everybody for listening to the show. I'm in DreamHack Valencia, so if you're interested in following my work, you'll be able to see some interviews and whatnot from that event. Looking forward to having a drink with Big Robert Olin. And Climbing the Ladder will be airing tomorrow, I think, and maybe on that. Depends what's happening, but if not, check it out anyway, because Chan Man is awesome. So thanks a lot for everyone who's been watching the show, and see you in a week's time, hopefully.
Pumpkin. I'm pumped. Let's do this.
Hello, and welcome to Streamgasm. My name's James.
And I'm Nathan.
And we're here in sunny London during a heatwave, right next to the Thames. Some recognisable buildings. London Eye. Big thing, go round it.
The Shard.
My future home. Only £60 million for an apartment. To buy an apartment in the Shard. So that's the plan. We're coming round here and we're going to get out the sun, aren't we?
Yeah.
We need to get out the sun.
We need to get out the sun.
And to do that, we're going to go up 28 stories into the sky.
Up the lift, which has some serious horsepower.
I'll tell you what,
it's an incredible
28
lift.
floors in about 20 seconds. That is a good lift. We're going to go back up there and we're going to meet some gamers. We're going to meet the people up there watching these games. We've got Call of Duty, Black Ops 2 on the Xbox, and we've got League of Legends on the personal computers. We're going to go and watch them play some games, and we're going to show you it right now. Let's go and have a look, shall we? So here we are, 28 floors above central London. It's sunny outside, but all that these people care about is happening right in this room. These are 10 of the best Call of Duty Black Ops 2 teams on Xbox in the world, and they're all battling it out for $55,000. And they've been joined by the best commentators and casters from around the world. They've been shipped over from America, and they've been shipped over from Europe, and they're all here in London, ready to watch this event. Tensions are high, there's a lot of shouting going on. No profanity, because I'm sure they're not allowed to do that. They'll get red carded, that's a good point. Yellow cards and red cards go out to the teams that shout too much and are too aggressive. If you verbally attack anyone's mother here, you will get a red card and you probably won't be able to play, so you can't do that. These players have been told. This is only one of 2 gaming rooms here at Gfinity. There is another one, this is only Call of Duty in here, filled with players. There's another one over there, which is League of Legends, and I think I hear Nathan.
Cheers, James. Okay, so I'm in the League of Legends room with an abundance of League of Legends players, 8 teams altogether with $55,000 to be won this weekend, totaling to $110,000 with the Call of Duty money. Personally, I think this is the best room because there was some free food. League of Legends.
So there we have it. That's been your first look at this first Gfinity event here in London. We've had a quick look around at the gamers, seen what they're up to, and we've had a look at the venue from the outside as well, haven't we, Nathan?
No, indeed.
The weather has been good.
Fantastic. Glorious. Yeah, we've got some more videos coming out as well. We caught up with the players and the personalities and everyone, just people.
Gamers, yeah. And gamers. You can catch all that on YouTube as well, on this channel, youtube.com/streamgasm. And if you want to find out what we're doing in future, what events we're going to, you can follow us on Twitter @streamgasm, twitter.com/streamgasm. Yeah, make sure to like this video if you like what you see, and make sure to tweet Gfinity as well, @Gfinity on Twitter, and you can tell them what you think of the event and maybe what they can improve next time, because I'm hoping we'll see another one of these.
Hopefully.
Yes, okay.
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching, and we will see you with some more interview videos coming very soon.
Yeah, cheerio.
The big